Chapter 1485. The eyes of the crowd flashed with bewilderment. Earlier, that peak-stage Immortal King actually managed to shatter Yen Luotian's palm attack with a single strike. Although he borrowed the force of the palm attack, such a unique ability was extremely powerful, able to assimilate law energy and was extremely profound. The saber-sword Immortal King had many enemies, but he also had many friends. The Nam Huang clan was also on good terms with him. However, after offending the Supreme Crown Prince and some peak-stage greater demons, it would be hard for him to have a foothold in the city of ancient emperors. To think that we failed to kill him. The experts from the 9 emperors' immortal state all had unsightly expressions on their faces. The saber-sword Immortal King was a supreme enemy to them. Even the strongest character in their 9 emperors' immortal state, Huang Jiutian, was defeated by him. Both sides already had a death grudge. If the saber-sword Immortal King didn't die, their 9 emperors' immortal state's humiliation would never end. Everyone knew that the saber-sword Immortal King had killed many people from their 9 emperors' immortal state. Naturally, there were also experts from the Supreme Sword School and Taihua Immortal Dynasty. They were all extremely depressed that the saber-sword Immortal King actually managed to escape. However, those peak characters didn't have too much of a reaction. They turned their gazes away and continued to comprehend the Tao elements raining down from the sky. In a certain direction, an extraordinary figure sat cross-legged in the air. Boundless Buddhic light radiated from him, as though he had an indestructible golden body. Countless Buddhic runes floated around him, exuding a dignified aura, like a supreme ancient Buddha, able to inherit the great Tao of the heavens and earth. It's actually him. The eyes of many flashed as they stared at that figure. I didn't expect this. Many major powers, including the Ascart Temple, have yet to obtain the power of a Tao element. Yet, this man actually managed to do so before them. However, it's true that he's extraordinary and is one of the strongest characters in the city of ancient emperors. I've long heard that one of the 3 major powers of the southern regions, the Jiang clan, is low profile. This Jiang Zihua's magnificence is unparalleled and he might be the future leader of the Jiang clan. It's rumored that the ancestor of the Jiang clan was a Buddhist monk. After that, he saw through the Buddhist Tao and returned to the secular world, becoming a peak power that has existed until now. Looks like the Buddhist techniques passed down by the Jiang clan aren't inferior to those Buddhist sects. Many people sighed with emotion and were rather shocked in their hearts. As for Qin Wentian and the others, Tuoba Saint Sky used the power of the void to traverse the distance between them. Although he didn't personally witness it, he had heard of Qin Wentian's glory in the city of ancient emperors, killing over 10 immortal kings, including peak-stage immortal kings. How impressive was that? However, he was still defeated by the Yama king. The Yama king was directly conferred the title of crown prince among his many descendants. No one could contend against him. From this, one could very well imagine how powerful he is. Someone from the Nam Huang clan spoke. In truth, there aren't many peak-stage immortal kings in the entire immortal realms. It's just that this time around, many of them suddenly appeared, all of them exuding boundless magnificence, gathering in the city of ancient emperors to welcome the arrival of the new era. I heard that the Yama King's Azura Hell is infused with all sorts of astral souls, as well as secret arts from the Sanluo Immortal Empire. Its might is boundless, and it has the ability to distort the laws. The holy maidens of the Nam Huang clan naturally paid attention to such characters and knew a little about them. The Azura Hell is a law domain of the Yama King. This law domain is already sufficient, containing all sorts of abilities. The most terrifying thing is just like what the holy maidens said, the ability to distort the laws. In there, we can only use the law energy in our bodies, we have no way to borrow the energy of the heavens and earth. This would undoubtedly greatly weaken the combat prowess of immortal kings, making it impossible for them to use their law domains. Qin Wentian knew that when using a law domain, one had to use one's body as the starting point, using the energy of the heavens and earth to form a domain. If the laws were distorted, how could one use their law domains? In that case, we have to be careful of this fellow in the future. Jun Mengchen spoke. This fellow is extremely conceited and incomparably arrogant. If it wasn't for the saber-sword Immortal King taking advantage of Su Qinyao, he wouldn't have acted at all. In the future, even if he encounters us, he might not do anything to us. The holy maidens of the Nam Huang clan spoke. The city of ancient emperors is already in chaos, there's no harm in being more cautious. Tuoba Saint Sky spoke. Saber-sword Immortal King, what do you plan to do next? Why don't you come with us? It's different. I'm already used to roaming the city of ancient emperors alone, searching for good fortune. Qin Wentian smiled as he rejected. What about your injuries? Nam Huang Yunshi felt a little worried. Don't worry about it, these minor injuries are nothing to me. Qin Wentian smiled, not minding it at all. Everyone could only nod their heads, and after that, they split up. Qin Wentian continued to roam the city of ancient emperors, searching for good fortune. Although he was defeated, his emperor's fate didn't diminish at all. It was still as resplendent as before, even more so than before. He fought against the Supreme Crown Prince, Yama King, with a mid-stage Immortal King cultivation base. Everyone was in awe of how strong the saber-sword Immortal King was. His emperor's fate grew stronger and stronger. Relying on his emperor's fate, Qin Wentian encountered many good fortune as his strength improved bit by bit. That Tao element had always existed in the city of ancient emperors. When the people of the immortal realms heard this news, a huge commotion shook the entire immortal realms. Experts all flocked to the city of ancient emperors, including immortal emperors. 2 years later, at the peak of a mountain, Qin Wentian stared at the horizons. During these 2 years, many changes occurred in the city of ancient emperors, giving birth to many good fortune. Countless experts who rushed to the city of ancient emperors benefited, and there were even many who managed to break through their bottlenecks, breaking through to the next level. However, Qin Wentian still felt that the peak stage of the Immortal King realm was still very far away. The higher one cultivated, the harder it was to break through. Even if there were many good fortune, it was useless. He stared at the Tao element cascading down from the air. He believed that in the future, there might be more of it. However, he made a decision and decided to leave the city of ancient emperors. Being limited to a single world, it's hard to find good fortune. Qin Wentian mumbled. Although he might miss out on a great opportunity, so what of it? The Tao element was merely something tossed over by the immortal realms. He believed that cultivation ultimately still depended on one's own insights. As he thought of this, Qin Wentian's silhouette flashed as he left this place. The ancient mountain peak was empty. Just when all the powerful characters in the immortal realms were rushing to the city of ancient emperors, Qin Wentian silently left. Before he left, he went to take a look at Bai Qin, but he didn't reunite with her. Qin Wentian knew that the phenomenon in the city of ancient emperors wouldn't be brief and would continue on for a very long period of time. Next, the attention of everyone in the immortal realms would be focused on this place. The vast majority of people here wouldn't be willing to leave, and he would definitely return in the future. In the eastern regions of the immortal realms, in the Evergreen Kingdom Palace, Qin Wentian returned. However, Chongqing the Great and many other nobility experts weren't in the royal palace. They had all gone to the city of ancient emperors. Qin Wentian arrived at the princess residence. Right now, who in the eastern regions didn't know that Qin Wentian was the future prince consort of the empire? Naturally, no one would obstruct him. In the princess residence, Qin wasn't here, but Mo Qingqing was. You've returned. Upon seeing Qin Wentian's return, Mo Qingqing didn't say anything. She silently walked to Qin Wentian and helped Qin Wentian tidy his robes. She then spoke in a gentle voice, "Elder sister Qin has been cultivating with senior GED during these years and rarely returns. Occasionally, she would come by to see if you have returned or not. Did you miss me?" Qin Wentian gently hugged Mo Qingqing. Each time they parted, many years would pass, causing Qin Wentian to feel very ashamed. Qingqing, on the other hand, had no regrets. What do you think? Mo Qingqing winked mischievously as she stared at Qin Wentian. I definitely didn't miss you. Qin Wentian intentionally replied, causing Mo Qingqing to roll her eyes. She quietly leaned into his embrace as she replied in a light voice, I miss you every day. Qin Wentian rubbed Mo Qingqing's head as he smiled, I told you to inform Qin that if she returns, I will accompany the two of you to relax. Really? Mo Qingqing inclined her head and stared at Qin Wentian. When have I ever lied to you? Qin Wentian laughed. Mo Qingqing's beautiful eyes sparkled as she stared at the smile on Qin Wentian's face. You want me and elder sister Qin to accompany you? Do you have any good intentions? Black lines appeared on Qin Wentian's forehead as he replied in a crafty manner, what good intentions? Seeing the shameless smile on Qin Wentian's face, Mo Qingqing ruthlessly pinched his waist. Lecherous brat, as expected, you have no good intentions. Qin Wentian felt that he was wronged. His thoughts were so pure. Sister Qin, let's ignore this fellow and go out to play. How about it? Sure. Qin smiled and nodded. The two of them walked side by side, tossing Qin Wentian to the side. Qin Wentian rolled his eyes. The harem was about to fall into chaos, he definitely couldn't allow this to continue. He had to take action. Staring at the two beautiful figures, the smile on Qin Wentian's face grew even more wretched. How would these two beauties know what this fellow was planning? Several days later, in a place extremely far away from the royal palace, there was a sea of flowers that resembled an immortal realm. This place was controlled by a beautiful immortal king of the Evergreen Kingdom. Amidst the sea of flowers, the two beauties danced gracefully. Qin was especially lively. She stepped on the flowers and placed a crown on Qin head as she smiled, Sister Qin you are so beautiful. You too. Qin smiled. Although the flowers are beautiful, the people are even more beautiful. They aren't as beautiful as the two of you. Qin Wentian followed behind them. Qin felt a sweetness in her heart. However, she only heard Mo Qingqing laughing mischievously, Sister Qin don't listen to his honeyed words. Just ignore him, let's continue playing. Qin turned her head back and glanced at Qin Wentian. A single smile of hers could charm 100 people, a single smile of hers could charm 100 people. After that, she continued holding hands with Mo Qingqing and ran ahead, completely ignoring his existence. This caused black lines to appear on Qin Wentian's forehead. Seems like he had to find an opportunity to punish this last Qingqing. How dare she be so mischievous? Several months later, in the northern regions of the Immortal Realms, on a towering ancient mountain peak that was incomparably majestic, as tall as the heavens. In front of it, there was a sea. The mountain and the sea were connected, the sea and the sky were connected. Such a scene was incomparably beautiful. The sun rose from the east. At the peak of the ancient mountain, three figures could be seen quietly sitting on a huge rock, staring at the rising sun. When the sun rose, the red glow of the sun shone on the three of them. Qin Wentian sat in the center while Mo Qingqing and Qin sat on his left and right respectively. They quietly leaned against him, enjoying this rare moment of tranquility. How beautiful! Mo Qingqing's eyes were filled with sweetness. For cultivators at Qin Wentian's level, it was extremely easy for them to see any beautiful scenery. It was just that for cultivators, their thirst for strength surpassed everything else. How many people would have the leisure time to do so? Most probably, only those with love in their hearts would be willing to go out with their companions to enjoy the scenery. Although Mo Qingqing's strength was growing stronger and stronger, in truth, she missed the days when she was young. Back in Chu, she was acquainted with Qin Wentian. They were in love, sweet and tranquil. After that, when they came to the immortal realms, Qin Wentian would be gone for many years at a time. Although she understood Qin Wentian, who wouldn't want the love of their heart to be by their side? This time around, she was truly very happy that Qin Wentian was willing to accompany them on a sightseeing tour. What's even more beautiful is my mood. Qin Wentian gently smiled. Sightseeing was more about the people accompanying him. If he came out alone or with someone he wasn't familiar with, he naturally wouldn't be in such a mood. Mo Qingqing nodded her head lightly in Qin Wentian's embrace. If it wasn't for Qin Wentian accompanying her, no matter how beautiful the scenery was, how would she have the mood to enjoy it? Qin Wentian saw that Qing'er didn't have any reaction. He lowered his head and glanced at the beauty in his embrace. And with this glance, Qin Wentian felt his heart trembling. He saw a drop of tears at the corner of Qing'er's eyes. Under the illumination of the morning sun, the tears were sparkling and translucent, like flawless gems. However, it wasn't that Qing'er was unhappy. On her cold face, a satisfied and warm smile could be seen, filled with boundless tenderness. Qing'er, Qingqing, I'm sorry. Qin Wentian blamed himself in his heart. Only now did he know how much these two ladies wanted to be together with him. Even if it was such a simple moment of companionship, they still cherished it so much. Qin Wentian lowered his head and lightly kissed Qing'er's lips. Qing'er stared at him in a daze as she blinked. She didn't resist, allowing Qin Wentian to kiss her lips. Aya! A cry of surprise interrupted the scene. Qin Wentian inclined his head, only to see Qing'er's face was flushed red to the point where even her neck was flushed red. Qin Wentian felt a little depressed as he stared at Mo Qingqing, only to see Mo Qingqing smiling mischievously. Do you want me to step back? Qingqing. Qing'er rolled her eyes. Qing'er, do you think I should punish this last Qingqing? Qin Wentian stared at Qing'er as he asked. This lass was too despicable, he had to punish her according to the clan's rules. Okay. Qing'er nodded her head. Upon seeing the mischievous smile on Qin Wentian's face, she stood up and prepared to flee. However, how could she escape? Qin Wentian pulled her into his embrace as a crisp smacking sound rang out. Qing'er's face instantly turned red from embarrassment. Qin Wentian was even more shameless than Qing'er earlier. This lecherous fellow actually slapped her on the buttocks. Not only that, he even did it in front of Qing'er. Not bad. Qin Wentian mumbled in his heart. Another smacking sound rang out as Qin Wentian shamelessly stated, Qingqing, if you are disobedient in the future, this will be the clan's rules. At this moment, Qing'er was dumbfounded. How could this fellow be like this? Would he do the same to her in the future? Upon thinking of this, Qing'er felt her entire body heating up as she felt incomparably shy. Elder sister Qing'er. Qingqing turned her pleading gaze onto Qing'er, only to see Qing'er turning her head and running away. I didn't see anything. Do you still dare to be naughty? Qin Wentian laughed as he stared at Qingqing. Qingqing's face was so red that it seemed as though water would drip out at any moment. She hurriedly shook her head. Qingqing, that's good. Qin Wentian had a satisfied smile on his face. He hugged Qingqing and kissed her on the lips. He, Qin Wentian, couldn't be biased. He, Qin Wentian, would naturally treat everyone equally. Mo Qingqing also set aside her shyness and passionately responded to Qin Wentian. Qing'er turned her head and smiled when she saw this scene. With a wave of her hand, a curtain of light drifted up, blocking the space where Qin Wentian and Qingqing were at. With some shyness on her face, she walked down alone, allowing Qin Wentian to carry out the clan's rules properly. Spring passed and autumn came, time flowed by. The city of ancient emperors shook the entire immortal realms as more and more good fortune appeared. In fact, even the inheritance of a second Tao element appeared in the city of ancient emperors. It was unknown how many characters were fighting for good fortune in the city of ancient emperors, preparing to defeat everyone in the world and embrace this dazzling era. However, there were people who seemed to have forgotten about the conflicts in the world. They only wanted to accompany their beauties, touring the beautiful sceneries of the world. In the blink of an eye, several years passed. Qin Wentian and the others already came to an immortal city in the southern regions of the Immortal Realms and had already stayed here for several months. There was no other reason but because the environment of this immortal city was extremely beautiful. There were mountains and rivers, as well as many immortal lakes. At this moment, there was an immortal lake, and there were many dragon boats floating on the lake. There were also many pavilions standing on the lake, and there were beauties playing the zither and dancing. There were also young masters reciting poems and painting. It was a leisurely and carefree scene, and it was like a paradise. There were few conflicts in the world, and there was only a poetic and picturesque scene. On one of the elegant dragon boats, there were several maidens rowing. At the bow of the boat, a figure leisurely reclined there, admiring the scenery before him. Beside him, there were two empire-toppling beauties feeding him fruits. These two beauties were all supreme beauties and had a transcendent aura, causing the maidens rowing the boat to sneak glances over, staring at the young man lying there. She didn't know where this fellow got his good fortune, to actually have two supreme beauties serving him. Beauties were as common as the clouds in the immortal lake, but these maidens had never seen such beautiful maidens before. Yet, this fellow seemed to be enjoying himself. How could he bear to have two beauties serving him? How detestable. Qingqing, are you tired? Do you want me to serve you? Qin Wentian laughed evilly as he stared at Qingqing. Qin, who was at the side, smiled. Right now, she was no longer as cold as before when she was beside Qin Wentian. She would smile more often, unless there were outsiders around. I'm not tired. Qingqing glared at Qin Wentian. How would she dare to say that she was tired? Ever since that day, if she dared to antagonize Qin Wentian, this fellow would punish her according to the clan rules. But sadly, her strength was far inferior compared to Qin Wentian and she had no way to resist. During these years, she had always been afraid of Qin Wentian. Qingqing, you are so good to me. Qin Wentian shamelessly spoke. Mo Qingqing's face was filled with black lines but her heart was still filled with warmth. If she could be like this for the rest of her life, she would be willing to serve him forever. Chapter 1487. Qing'er, since Qingqing doesn't want it, I'll serve you then. Qin Wentian turned his gaze to Qing'er. But before Qing'er could say anything, he directly got up and sat behind Qing'er, allowing her to lean into his embrace. After that, he began to massage Qing'er's shoulders. I don't want it either. Qing'er replied. Qin Wentian smiled, it's fine, Qing'er, there's no need for you to understand me. Mo Qingqing stared hatefully at this fellow. Who understood him? He clearly wanted to take advantage of her elder sister Qing'er. However, Qing'er didn't say anything and allowed Qin Wentian to do whatever he wanted. Under the ravaging hands of Qin Wentian, her body softly leaned into Qin Wentian's embrace. Qin Wentian's hands also became more obedient, quietly hugging her. After that, he pulled Mo Qingqing over and hugged the two beauties as he smiled, such a scene, I only envy the mandarin ducks, not the immortals. The dragon boat entered the lake and floated down with the flow of the river. A light breeze gusted by, and under the warm sunlight, it felt even more comfortable. I wonder how things are in the city of ancient emperors now. Qing'er spoke in a low voice, as though reminding Qin Wentian. Right now, the experts of the immortal realms were all gathered in the city of ancient emperors, yet they seemed to stand aloof from worldly affairs, roaming the world. Although she loved such a life, she was afraid that she would delay Qin Wentian's cultivation. Qing'er, when have I ever delayed my cultivation? Qin Wentian was long connected with the hearts of the two ladies. How could he not understand the meaning behind Qing'er's words? Qing'er nodded, she naturally believed in Qin Wentian. After roaming for a day, the two of them returned to an inn in the city. There were only 3 people in the inn, Qin Wentian and his 2 companions. When they decided to stay in the city for a period of time, Qin Wentian directly bought the entire inn. To him, this was merely a drop in the ocean. In the most elegant courtyard of the inn, resplendent astral energy cascaded down, landing on Qin Wentian's room. Cultivation was also a cultivation of the heart. In the city of ancient emperors, he knew that he wouldn't be able to comprehend more. Hence, he abandoned the temptation of obtaining good fortune and brought his loved ones to roam the world. It wasn't that he had given up on his cultivation, it was just to change his method of comprehending the world. During these years, he traversed rivers and lakes, he traversed snowy mountains and seas of flowers, he observed the sunrise and sunset of the world, and comprehended the heavens and earth. Although it couldn't be said that he would gain enlightenment every moment, there would be times when he would feel a sense of enlightenment in his heart. Naturally, this was far from enough for him to break through to the next level. He didn't force it, he chose to let nature take its course. In this world, what was the purpose of cultivation? It was to roam the world, to be free and unfettered. Right now, wasn't he the same? With the heavens and earth in his heart, his state of mind was incomparably calm. Although he understood that this was only temporary, as long as he was in the immortal realms, he would never be able to avoid the tempest of the immortal realms. In Mo Qingqing's room, she was also cultivating. But at this moment, she stopped because Qing'er had arrived. Elder sister Qing'er. Mo Qingqing welcomed Qing'er into the room. Is he not in? Qing'er asked in a light voice. He's cultivating in his own room. Mo Qingqing replied. Elder sister Qing'er, that fellow bullied you again today. We have to think of a way to deal with him. Qing'er shook her head, no. Elder sister Qing'er, you are feeling heartache for that fellow again. Qingqing gently laughed. The more soft-hearted you are, the more he would bully you. Who's talking bad about me behind my back? Qin Wentian laughed as he walked in. He stared at Mo Qingqing. Qingqing, I'm preparing to punish you according to the clan's rules. You dare? Mo Qingqing hid behind Qing'er. Why wouldn't I dare to use the clan's rules on my own wife? Qin Wentian laughed as he stepped forward, grabbing towards Mo Qingqing. Elder sister Qing'er. Mo Qingqing pleaded. Seeing Qing'er standing in front of him, Qin Wentian laughed mischievously. Qing'er, are you preparing to punish Qingqing according to the clan's rules? Although you haven't married into my family yet, in my heart, you are already my wife. I can naturally use the clan's rules on you. Qing'er naturally knew what the clan's rules Qin Wentian was referring to. Her countenance was filled with shyness, incomparably beautiful. You better look for Qingqing. Qing'er's voice rang out, betraying Mo Qingqing without any trace of politeness. Sister Qing'er, you. Mo Qingqing directly grabbed Qing'er and pushed her towards Qin Wentian when she saw Qing'er dodging. Qing'er, you are the one who delivered yourself to my doorstep. Qin Wentian hugged Qing'er's soft and frail body, staring at her blushing face. His heart was like a monkey, and he directly kissed her. Mo Qingqing smiled when she saw this scene. Elder sister Qing'er, I will sleep in your room today. After speaking, she directly slipped out of the room. Qing'er blinked as she stared in astonishment at the departing Mo Qingqing. She was going to sleep in her room? What did she mean by that? Upon thinking of this, Qing'er's face instantly turned even redder as her heartbeat quickened. Their lips parted. Qin Wentian stared at the dumbfounded expression on Qing'er's face as a hint of gentleness flashed in his eyes. Qin Wentian's hands supported Qing'er's buttocks, causing Qing'er's body to tremble slightly. After which, Qin Wentian carried her up and placed her on the soft and beautiful bed. Lying there, she stared at Qin Wentian in a daze. At this moment, how could Qing'er not know that she had been tricked? Qingqing had actually colluded with this fellow to bully her. However, upon seeing the gentleness in Qin Wentian's eyes, she slowly closed her eyes. She had long prepared herself for this. If Qin Wentian wanted it, she naturally wouldn't reject him. Staring at the cold, goddess-like figure in front of him, Qin Wentian gently took off her clothes. Staring at her flawless skin, his heart was filled with boundless warmth. Qing'er. Qin Wentian wanted to say something, but he only saw Qing'er stretching out her finger and placing it on her lips, preventing him from speaking. Her beautiful eyes were still closed, but the redness on her face gradually spread. Qin Wentian didn't say anything more. He bent down and gently kissed Qing'er's face, lips, and that flawless skin. Feeling the trembling of Qing'er's body, Qin Wentian treasured her even more. In the quiet room, there were no honeyed words, only endless tenderness. There was no need for them to speak, yet it was as though they understood each other's thoughts. Everything happened naturally. Outside the room, in the courtyard, Mo Qingqing inclined her head and stared at the stars in the sky. A sweet smile could be seen on her face. Finally, another matter in her heart has been resolved. During these years, they roamed the immortal realms. Although she and Qing'er were always by Qin Wentian's side, Qin Wentian and Qing'er actually didn't have that level of relationship. Hence, during the journey, Qin Wentian would often spend the night in their room. They naturally wouldn't mention such a shameful matter. She and Qing'er were like sisters and were both females. She naturally could guess some of Qing'er's thoughts. However, Qing'er's personality was just like that. It was impossible for her to take the initiative to mention such matters. Also, Qin Wentian was deeply in love with Qing'er. Although he would tease her, he had always respected her and didn't do anything to Qing'er. Hence, there has always been an awkward situation. The man had feelings for the woman, the concubine had feelings for the man. Clearly, both of them had some thoughts but they couldn't break through. Hence, she could only help them, creating an opportunity for them. Turning her head and glancing at the room, there was no movement at all. Mo Qingqing smiled lightly, the smile on her face growing increasingly radiant. Sometimes, she would have a wild wish. If the three of them could be together forever, how beautiful would that be? Naturally, she also knew that this was merely a wild wish. Qin Wentian never forgot to cultivate during the journey. She knew that he would return sooner or later, fighting for supremacy in the immortal realms. Her man could be as gentle as water, and could also look down on the world with disdain. Time was like a dream. Ever since Qin Wentian left the city of ancient emperors, it has already been 30 years. 30 years to the immortal realms was too short. To those lofty characters like Wuxia, it was even shorter. A single session of closed-door seclusion would be enough. However, these 30 years to Qing'er and Mo Qingqing was too long, too beautiful, like a lifetime. In a city in the Taihua immortal dynasty in the eastern regions of the immortal realms, there were snowflakes drifting about year-round. It was beautiful and romantic. Amidst the white snow, there were two beautiful young ladies building a snowman. They were giggling, as though they were discussing something. After the snowman was built, one of the young ladies stared in the distance. She smiled and called out, "Elder sister Qing'er, elder sister Qingqing, do you guys think this looks like master?" Qing'er and Mo Qingqing walked over. When they saw that the snowman did resemble Qin Wentian, they couldn't help but to smile. "Yes, very much so. Am I that ugly?" Qin Wentian rubbed his nose. He walked over as well as he spoke in a depressed manner. "Master is the most handsome." A young lady had a radiant smile on her face. She was about 15 or 16 years of age and was extremely lively and adorable. She referred to Qin Wentian as master, but referred to Qing'er and Qingqing as elder sisters. "Elder sister Jian, don't you think so?" The young lady glanced at a young lady around 18 years of age as she asked. Master's wife is the most beautiful fairy in the world. Master is naturally the most handsome man in the world as well." Jian laughed. "Jian, Jiran, you guys truly have good judgment. Qin Wentian praised. Mo Qingqing rolled her eyes and teased, your skin is really thick. Could it be that my Qing'er and Qingqing aren't the most beautiful fairies in the world? Qin Wentian laughed. Jiyan and Jiran were a pair of sisters, both orphans. A few years ago, when the two sisters went out to play, they met Qin Wentian and the others. Seeing that the two sisters were adorable, Qing'er and Qingqing asked them to bring them to a place to stay. However, they didn't expect that after witnessing the sisters' entire family being annihilated, Qingqing and Qing'er were kind-hearted and decided to take them in. Hence, the three of them stayed in this city for several years. Master's wife is naturally the most beautiful. Jiran giggled. Qin Wentian and Qing'er also laughed. At this moment, Qin Wentian inclined his head and stared at the sky as he furrowed his brows. After which, Qing'er also furrowed her brows. Qin Wentian bitterly smiled and shook his head. He then spoke to Qing'er and Qingqing, Qing'er, Qingqing, do you guys still want to continue playing? We might have to return. Let's return. Qing'er smiled at Qin Wentian. After accompanying them for so many years, she was already very satisfied. Mo Qingqing also smiled and nodded her head. Master's wife, are you guys going to leave? Jiyan started when she heard their conversation. She inclined her head and asked. Master's wife, will you guys abandon Jiran? Jiran's voice was somewhat downcast. They knew that Qin Wentian was here to play. Back then when they first met, they were the ones who led the way for Qin Wentian. Silly lass. Qing'er and Mo Qingqing rubbed their heads as they replied, of course not. Are Jiyan and Jiran willing to leave with us? Both of us are willing. The two girls smiled radiantly as they nodded their heads heavily. However, when they saw so many experts descending from the sky, they started to panic. The might of these people engulfed the heavens and earth, incomparably terrifying, enveloping the entire city. It was as though they were here for their master and master's wife. The expressions of the experts in the air stiffened as cold smiles appeared on their faces. That peak-stage immortal king in the lead laughed uproariously, I've long heard that Qin Wentian is extraordinary. It's just that rumors can't be trusted completely. Right now in the city of ancient emperors, experts are as common as the clouds and countless supreme geniuses of the immortal realms are heading there to contend against them. You can also be considered an extraordinary character and are famous in the eastern regions of the immortal realms. To think that you actually chose to stay in this city for so many years. Most probably, you must have been roaming the world during these years. You are truly not as good as your reputation. After speaking, he waved his hand as a terrifying might bore down from the sky. A group of immortal kings descended from the air. After so many years of peace, it's about time for me to return. Qin Wentian mumbled. He inclined his head and stared at the sky as a towering sword intent radiated from his eyes, penetrating through the void. In just an instant, a scream of misery rang out. An immortal king's eyes were filled with blood as his body was penetrated by the sword intent. After that, he fell from the sky. Qin Wentian stood there, holding on to Jiran and Jiyan's hands. A formless energy enveloped Qing'er and Mo Qingqing as they slowly rose up into the air. Everywhere his gaze passed by, screams of misery rang out. Numerous immortal kings directly fell from the sky. Even a single gaze from Qin Wentian couldn't withstand it. Boom! The expressions of the peak-stage immortal kings in the air instantly turned incredibly unsightly to behold. The battle hasn't even started and so many experts had already fallen. Even for mid-stage immortal kings, they couldn't withstand it. How could Qin Wentian be so powerful with just a single glance? Qin Wentian dragged the maidens along as he slowly rose into the air. A divine glow radiated from him, he was like a divinity, unexcelled in this world. Kill! The expert in the lead unleashed his law domain. The peak stage immortal kings all acted as well. In an instant, chaos ensued as everything below was reduced to dust. Qin Wentian turned his gaze towards one of them. With just a single glance, that immortal king only felt that Qin Wentian's eyes were the only thing left in this world. After that immortal king's eyes transformed into an unparalleled sword intent that slashed through the sky. That immortal king roared in rage and retreated explosively, even closing his eyes. But it was useless, the towering sword intent still slashed towards him. Peak stage Immortal King was still the same, unable to withstand a single strike. How can this be possible? The other experts trembled. They turned and wanted to flee, but how could they escape? Numerous figures fell from the air. A group of immortal kings from the Taihua immortal dynasty fell one after another. In just a few breaths of time, all of them had fallen to the ground. Only one of them was still alive. His cultivation base was crippled and he stared fixedly at the rising figures in the air. There was only despair and terror on his face, a fear that came from the depths of his soul. How many years has it been since the appearance of the demon god mountain? Only tens of years have passed. At that time, Qin Wentian was only at the mid-stage of the immortal king realm. How could he be so terrifying to such an extent in such a short period of time? They felt that they had already placed enough importance on this matter. The immortal kings descended, wanting to bring Qin Wentian and Princess Qin, to the Taihua immortal dynasty. However, the ending was actually so tragic. Qin Wentian didn't even need to act. He merely glanced at them and destroyed them all. In this era where experts were contending for supremacy in the city of ancient emperors, Qin Wentian was still roaming the world. However, in just a short period of tens of years, how could he be so powerful? I'll spare your life. Tell the Taihua immortal dynasty that I, Qin, have something to do today and won't disturb you. In the future, if there's a chance, I will personally pay a visit. A voice rang out from the air, causing his heart to tremble. His heart was like dead ashes, filled with incomparable despair. He only felt that the ground was extremely cold, extremely cold. The people from afar all rushed over. When they saw the ruins and the corpses of the experts on the ground, their hearts all trembled. When they inclined their heads, Qin Wentian and his group had already vanished. There were some who were acquainted with Qin Wentian and his companions before. Just from their demeanor, they could tell that the three of them were extraordinary. A handsome young man with two supreme beauties, it was obvious with a single glance that they were from a major power that came out to sightsee. However, they didn't expect them to be so terrifying to such an extent. From their conversation earlier, they knew that these people who were killed were all from the Taihua immortal dynasty. Yet, they couldn't even block a single attack from them. After a long time, a terrifying might bore down on the city. A supremely powerful expert appeared, landing before the only remaining peak stage immortal king. He checked the injuries of the immortal king and knew that his cultivation base was crippled. There was no way for him to turn the situation around. He fed the immortal king a medicinal pill, causing him to sober up a little. What's going on? So many people were sent out, yet they couldn't even capture a single Qin Wentian. Could it be that they sent reinforcements? That person asked. The immortal king on the ground trembled. There's only one person, just a single glance. Qin Wentian is invincible. My dynasty has to eliminate him no matter what. The hearts of those who heard this trembled violently. Just one person, just a single glance. What's his cultivation base at? That person asked. Peak stage immortal king. The injured immortal king replied. With a rumbling sound, the aura of the expert before him gushed forth. A peak stage immortal king. The Immortal Foundation expert of the adjudication hall back then was actually already a peak stage Immortal King. How many years has it been? We have to eliminate him as soon as possible. Remember this. If not, if he matures, our dynasty would be in danger. That person seemed to have yet to recover from the shock and fear he felt earlier. Upon hearing this, the heart of the injured Immortal King trembled. Was this young man really so terrifying? He actually caused a peak stage Immortal King to say that the dynasty would be in danger. Seems like this young man has already matured. Chapter 1489. In the Evergreen Kingdom, Qin Wentian's group of 5 returned. They had been out for 30 years, roaming the world. During these 30 years, Qin Wentian let go of everything and lived a carefree life. He only had beauties by his side. Occasionally, he would sit down and cultivate his insights, not forcing himself. His state of heart was incomparably calm as he tempered himself in the world of mortals. During these 30 years, although he seemed to be playing around, he was also cultivating his heart and heart, doing as he pleased. He also gained different insights into the laws of heaven and earth, and his state of heart was no longer comparable to the past. Several years ago, he successfully broke through and entered the peak stage of the Immortal King realm. However, he didn't care about it at all. Until now, when he returned to the Evergreen Kingdom Palace. Chongqing the Great was still absent. Right now, the city of ancient emperors had gathered experts from all over the world. Who else could be as carefree as Qin Wentian, giving up the good fortune in the city of ancient emperors and roaming the world instead? Qin's residence was as quiet as ever. After they returned, they immediately went to pay a visit to Princess Chongping, who was the closest to them. Upon seeing that Qin Wentian and Qin had returned, Princess Chongping and the Scarlet Eye Marquis naturally welcomed them personally. Right now, Princess Chongping and the Scarlet Eye Marquis could no longer see through Qin Wentian. When they thought of how famous Qin Wentian was, they couldn't help but to sigh. Thinking back to the past, when Qin Wentian first came to the royal palace of the empire, he was still a junior with a low cultivation base. He broke through here, and at that time, he was still jealous of those juniors with nobility. But now, those juniors who once fought against Qin Wentian were still juniors. As for Qin Wentian, who would still dare to look at him with the same gaze they used to look at him in the past? If this fellow could become an immortal emperor in the future, he would be a living legend. Who are these two little fellows? Princess Chongping asked when she saw Ji Yan and Ji Ran. Aunt, these are Ji Yan and Ji Ran. We met them outside and their backgrounds are pitiful. Now, they are Wentian's disciples. If Wentian and I leave, the two of them and Qingqing will be taken care of. Qing spoke in a light voice, her words causing Princess Chongping to start. You just returned and you want to leave again? Princess, I'm sure you know the situation in the immortal realms. Although it seems calm on the outside, a terrifying storm is brewing. Princess, the city of emperors is the immortal realms, the city. But sooner or later, the immortal realms in the immortal realms, the city of emperors. We have already lived for 30 years, so we, Qin, we, Wentian, Qing, it. We, it, there. And, it. Qing, will, Qing heir as well. Princess Qing, going. I don't wish for her to go. It's just that when this lass heard that I wanted to go, she wanted to go as well. I'm a little worried, but I can't change her mind. Aunt, can you help me persuade this lass? Qin Wentian bitterly smiled and shook his head. Qing held his hand and spoke in a melodious voice, wherever you go, I will go. Princess Chongping's eyes flashed with a bright light when she heard the way Qin Wentian addressed her. She smiled, you even changed the way you address me. Seems like the good things are about to happen. Qin, Wentian's words aren't without logic. Why don't you stay behind and accompany me? The city of ancient emperors is too lively now. Don't you prefer peace and quiet? The commotion in the city of ancient emperors was too great. Ordinary immortal kings wouldn't dare to head there. There was basically no place for them to stand, and they had no way to contend against those people. Ant is right. Qin, I have too many enemies in the city of ancient emperors. If I bring you along, it would be inconvenient instead. Qin Wentian spoke. Qin coldly glanced at Qin Wentian, causing Qin Wentian's heart to soften. After that, he heard Qin speaking, I will return to my sect to look for my senior sister and see if she's willing to accompany me. Okay. Qin Wentian could only nod. There should be many experts under GD, and she shouldn't be like him, who had enemies all over the world. In addition, Qin had two identities. She was the beloved disciple of GD, and the daughter of Chongqing the Great. No matter who wanted to touch her, they would have to think twice before doing so. She was much safer compared to him. Qin, in that case, I will head to the city of ancient emperors first. After you return to your sect, remember to bring your senior sister along with you. Don't act alone. Qin Wentian spoke. When Qin heard Qin Wentian's words, she coldly stared at him, as though she was filled with resentment. Staring at her cold countenance, Qin Wentian grabbed Qin's slender waist, pulling her into his embrace, causing Qin's body to tremble. Princess Chongping and the Scarlet Eye Marquis both widened their eyes. After that, they saw to their shock that Qin resisted lightly, but to no avail. Hence, she allowed Qin Wentian to do as he pleased. Qin, I understand your feelings. It's not that I'm ruthless, but I've offended too many people and powers. I'm doing this for you. Qin Wentian gently spoke. Qin nodded lightly, I'll listen to you. But if anything happens to you, I naturally won't live alone. Silly lass, with you and Qingqing around, how can I bear to let anything happen to me? Qin Wentian gently stroked her hair. After that, he turned to Qingqing, Qingqing, if I'm not around, you have to cultivate well. You have to be careful too. Qingqing smiled as she stared at Qin Wentian. Her black hair had turned white and her countenance was pale as well, with traces of blood at the corner of her lips. I shouldn't have come to the city of ancient emperors. The male spoke in a light voice. His tone was so calm, as though there were no traces of emotions within. Fool. The female stretched out her slender fingers, gently stroking his face. She then spoke in a gentle voice, this place should have been a place you wanted to come to. The heroes of the world are all fighting for supremacy, how can you miss out? Cultivating beside me has always been a grievance to you. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have today. If you didn't meet me, you wouldn't have today's ending as well. You helped me, but I've implicated you. The young man spoke in a light voice. If it wasn't for me, your accomplishments might be even higher. As for my ending, being able to die in your embrace is already very beautiful. In this life of mine, what else do I have to be dissatisfied with? A beautiful smile could be seen on the pale face of the female, as though she was filled with happiness. But I've let you down. And now, you have to die because of me. The young man spoke. You've never let me down. Also, in this great era, geniuses are everywhere. In the city of ancient emperors, how many heroes have turned into white bones? Since I'm fated to meet this calamity, it's already destined. The female still had a smile on her face. I'm tired, I have to leave now. You have to take care of yourself. After speaking, the female slowly closed her eyes as her aura gradually dissipated. However, her expression was calm and peaceful, as though she had passed away peacefully. The young man stared at the horizons. A gentle breeze blew past, causing sand to enter his eyes. Tears flowed down his face as he inclined his head and stared at the sky. Boundless runic light cascaded downwards, resembling the great Tao. These runic lights were all Tao elements that originated from the other immortal realms. A terrifying beam of light shot out from the eyes of the young man. He seemed to be able to see through everything, seeing through the heavens and earth. In an instant, the light from the great Tao landed in his eyes, transforming into countless runic inscriptions that flowed into him, causing his eyes to shine with a resplendent light, like a world of reincarnation. How laughable! Is this just another reincarnation cycle that I cultivated? The young man inclined his head and stared at the boundless void. His demeanor seemed to have changed, his entire person was changing. However, a mocking smile could be seen on his face. It was unknown if he was mocking others or mocking himself. If there were others here, they would surely sigh in admiration. This young man's cultivation base wasn't high, he was only at the mid-stage of the Immortal King realm. His emperor's fate wasn't strong, but he actually comprehended a Tao element. Just like what the young man experienced, in the city of ancient emperors, there were countless people who rose up, obtaining good fortune and breaking through. Naturally, there were also experts who died. Who? The young man calmly spoke, his voice filled with indifference. He didn't even move. Behind him, a figure appeared. It was none other than Qin Wentian. He has returned, he once again returned to the city of ancient emperors. When he saw the boundless light cascading downwards, he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. There wasn't just a single Tao element that descended from the heavens. Also, they seemed to exist eternally in the city of ancient emperors, never dissipating. How could this world not change? During these 30 years, he left and roamed the immortal realms. With regards to his cultivation, he didn't know if it was right or wrong, good or bad. However, he didn't regret it. Everyone had their own path of cultivation. Back then when he gave up the good fortune in the city of ancient emperors, it was his choice, his own path of cultivation. It's me. Qin Wentian removed the mask of the saber-sword Immortal King, revealing his true face. The eyes of the young man fluctuated, but it only lasted for an instant. He still didn't turn his head and calmly spoke, "Back then, you and I participated in the test together. You obtained the top ranker, and as for the myriad incarnations, she chose me. Who would have thought that the world would change so much? The Dongshengtian Gate no longer exists. The Dongsheng Heaven Emperor spared no expense to kill you, and she died here. My condolences." Qin Wentian was speechless, he didn't know what to say. He also didn't expect that when he met Hua Taishu again, the situation would be like this. "My condolences have passed. Everything shall return to samsara." Hua Taishu calmly spoke. He kept the myriad incarnations Immortal King's body, and with a flash of his silhouette, he soared up into the clouds. Chapter 1490. Qin Wentian stared at the vanishing silhouette of Hua Taishu as he let out a long sigh. Back then, when the Dongsheng Heaven Emperor descended upon this particle world, that was the first time he and Hua Taishu met a major character of the immortal realms. Regardless of Eastern Sage, Bai Wuya, the Deep Flame Immortal King, or the myriad incarnations Immortal King, all of them were supreme existences at the peak. Bai Wuya's senior brother broke through to the Immortal Emperor realm. The Deep Flame Immortal King had long died in Bai Wuya's hands, the Eastern Sage Immortal Sect was destroyed, and the Eastern Sage Immortal Emperor joined Old Devil Duo Tian. And now, the myriad incarnations Immortal King died in the city of ancient emperors. In the blink of an eye, a few hundred years had passed, the blue seas turned into mulberry fields. Maybe, only time would be able to bear witness to everything. No matter how outstanding a character was, in this cruel world of the martial Tao, who could remain lofty and lofty forever? With a wave of his hand, Qin Wentian once again transformed into the saber-sword Immortal King. His eyes flashed with incomparable determination. In this cruel world of cultivation, he had no way to control the world. Only by growing stronger would he be able to prevent tragedies from happening to him. Stepping out, Qin Wentian stared at the Tao element descending from above as a myriad of emotions flashed in his heart. When he returned to the city of ancient emperors again, the emperor's fate he accumulated before had completely vanished. This should be the rule of the city of ancient emperors. Since you left and came back again, even if you have emperor's fate, you would have to start from scratch. The city of ancient emperors 30 years later was much more lively compared to 30 years ago. Even in the desolate mountain ranges, immortal kings could be seen everywhere. All of them had different amounts of emperor's fate behind them. 30 years could be considered a very short period of time, but to the city of ancient emperors, with so many experts gathered here, one could very well imagine how grand the situation was. Right now, not many people in the city of ancient emperors knew of him. When they saw that Qin Wentian didn't have any emperor's fate, their expressions were incomparably calm, and they couldn't even be bothered to glance at him. This should be a newcomer to the city of ancient emperors. If not, he would have at least some emperor's fate. One must know that the person with the strongest amount of emperor's fate in the city of ancient emperors could already directly absorb the light from the Tao elements. How terrifying would that be? Their eyes gleamed with a bright light, as though they could see through everything. As Qin Wentian continued on his way, he could sense that the auras of the immortal kings in the city of ancient emperors were all extraordinary. Their auras were all filled with determination, and there were experts of all ages. Many of them were searching for treasured grounds and were sitting there to comprehend the Tao elements. The closer one was to the central area of the city of ancient emperors, the more experts there were. Characters with extraordinary emperor's fate were also more common. The Tao elements here were more complete, and there were even more extraordinary characters gathered here. However, the more people there were, the more conflicts there would be. For the sake of emperor's fate, for the sake of treasures, they would fight, kill, and plunder. Right now, everyone in the city of ancient emperors knew how strong emperor's fate was. Battles, faith, worship, fear, all of these could strengthen one's emperor's fate. If one could become famous in the city of ancient emperors, their emperor's fate would be even more abundant. Over there, what a strong amount of emperor's fate. Qin Wentian turned his gaze in a certain direction. Over there, emperor's fate could be seen soaring upwards. This pure and flawless emperor's fate seemed to have undergone a transformation and was now shining with divine light. The Tao elements cascading down from the heavens and earth actually fused together with the emperor's fate. When emperor's fate was strong to a certain extent, it would actually have such an effect. It was simply shocking. Upon seeing this scene, Qin Wentian's silhouette flashed as he sped towards that direction. Although it seemed to be within reach, in truth, the distance between them was extremely far. Over there, on the peak of an ancient mountain in the central emperor city, a goddess-like figure stood there. Her entire body was flawless, and her skin was as fair as snow. There was a plum blossom imprint in the center of her brows, and in addition to the boundless emperor's fate radiating from her, it caused people to involuntarily want to worship her. It's her. Qin Wentian silently mused. He had seen this woman before. Back then when he fought against the supreme crown prince, she was a supreme beauty from the nine-tailed demon fox race. Back then when he met her, her emperor's fate was already incomparably strong. Who would have thought that now, her emperor's fate had already reached such a terrifying level? Her emperor's fate could even directly aid her in comprehending the Tao elements. Boom! At this moment, an incomparably thunderous sound rang out from afar. The entire space trembled, the earth trembled as rumbling sounds rang out unceasingly. Many people turned their gazes over only to see a supreme greater demon suddenly appearing in the air. His body was incomparably gigantic and was tens of thousands of meters tall, blotting out the sun. When he stepped out, everything was razed to flat ground. Rumbling sounds rang out as he directly moved over. His gigantic eyes stared at the nine-tailed demon fox maiden on the ancient mountain peak. Boundless golden light radiated from his gigantic body, he was like a golden devil. This was a greater demon from the desolate mountains. He coldly stared at the maiden as he spoke. You actually dared to kill my clansman to obtain emperor's fate? Demon fox, I want you to serve me from now on. The maiden didn't pay any attention to him, it was like she didn't know that he had appeared. Her eyes were still closed, as though nothing in the world had anything to do with her. In the surroundings, more and more experts gathered here, as though they wanted to watch a good show. Boom! A thunderous boom rang out in the air. That gigantic golden devil blasted out with his palm, blotting out the sun. In an instant, boundless golden light transformed into a prison of heaven and earth, capable of destroying everything. The maiden on the ancient mountain peak finally opened her eyes. Her eyes gleamed with an incomparably resplendent light as her flawless robes fluttered in the wind. Her eyes were incomparably terrifying, able to see through everything. Her gaze instantly penetrated through the gigantic eyes of the greater demon. Rumble. A terrifying rumbling sound could be heard. The gigantic palm continued to descend. However, its speed gradually slowed down. Finally, it came to a halt in the void. Its gigantic body was like a statue, frozen on the spot. Are you willing to be my slave and protect me for your entire life? The young woman suddenly spoke, as though she was baffled. However, the gigantic body of the greater demon moved as he retracted his palms. His gigantic eyes gleamed with a demonic light as he nodded his head, I'm willing. Kneel down. The maiden's voice was extremely gentle, like the voice of a goddess. With a thunderous boom, that gigantic body of the greater demon knelt on the ground. If anyone dares to disturb my cultivation, kill them without mercy. The maiden coldly spoke. Yes. That powerful greater demon simply knelt there just like that, incomparably respectful as though he was completely subservient. How powerful! The hearts of everyone trembled when they stared at that goddess-like figure. All of them deeply felt that this maiden was invincible. With a single glance, a greater demon was subservient, being controlled and forced to kneel on the ground. After obtaining the Tao element's inheritance, she became even more terrifying. Many experts felt a sense of helplessness. Such a perfect and flawless maiden, even if she was a demon, they would still be willing to marry her. If they could obtain such a woman, their lives wouldn't have been in vain. However, the strength of this maiden made it so that no one dared to be disrespectful to her. Those who once disrespected her were all dead. A beautiful figure flashed over, appearing in the air. When she saw this scene, a look of helplessness appeared in her eyes. During these years, she had always treated this maiden as her rival, wanting to surpass her. However, she discovered that there was no hope at all. This vixen not only surpassed her in terms of looks and demeanor, her strength also caused her to feel despair. Just a single glance. If I fought against her, would I be able to withstand the might of a single glance? Su Qingyao mused. She herself was also a supreme beauty, but when compared to this woman before her, she was clearly inferior. Her beautiful eyes slowly turned over, staring at the experts in the surroundings. After that, her beautiful eyes froze there, stopping on a single person. This person had vanished for a total of 30 years, but the impression he gave her was too deep. Even after 30 years, she could still recognize him with a single glance. It was none other than the saber-sword Immortal King. Qin Wentian seemed to have sensed something. He turned his gaze over and saw a beautiful face. It was actually none other than Su Qingyao, whom he had teased back then. What a coincidence. It has been many years since we last met. Fairy Qingyao, how have you been? Qin Wentian couldn't help but to smile when he saw Su Qingyao still in a daze. Upon seeing the teasing smile on Qin Wentian's face, Su Qingyao bit her lips and glared at Qin Wentian. When she saw that there was no emperor's fate behind Qin Wentian, she spoke, I didn't expect that you would actually flee the city of ancient emperors back then. Now that you have returned, could it be that you want revenge? Revenge? A look of interest flashed in Qin Wentian's eyes. He didn't feel that the defeat back then was something shameful. Not only for him, in truth, no one who had witnessed that battle felt that it was a humiliation for Qin Wentian. If not, after that battle, Qin Wentian's emperor's fate wouldn't have grown stronger instead. Defeating Huang Jiutian at the mid-stage of the Immortal King realm and fighting against the Supreme Crown Prince. If this was considered a humiliation, what about the geniuses in the city of ancient emperors? Seems like after Fairy Qinyao's cultivation base improved, you have already forgotten the lesson of the past. A teasing smile appeared on Qin Wentian's face. Su Qinyao stared at him and instantly thought back to how this bastard took advantage of her back then, caressing her body. Her expression instantly turned heavy. Initially, she didn't have any resentment towards Qin Wentian and only wanted to tease him a little. She didn't expect this bastard to bring up the past again. Su Qinyao's cultivation had indeed improved. Today, 30 years later, she broke through from the mid-stage to the peak stage of the Immortal King realm. From this, one could see that she didn't waste her time tempering herself in the city of ancient emperors. Lesson. Many immortal kings in the surroundings stared at Qin Wentian. Some of them were puzzled. 30 years ago, many of them weren't in the city of ancient emperors and didn't know of the saber-sword Immortal King. There were also quite a few people who saw the saber and sword on Qin Wentian's back as they gradually recalled the major event that happened 30 years ago in the city of ancient emperors. An expression of interest involuntarily appeared on their faces. Fairy Qinyao, why don't we continue chatting about romance for 7 more days? This seat is filled with nostalgia for the 7 days we spent together in the past. Qin Wentian smiled when he saw Su Qinyao gritting her teeth. It's really him. The saber-sword Immortal King has returned. Someone spoke in a low voice. Saber-sword Immortal King. Who is he? There were some who didn't know. Su Qinyao's beautiful eyes turned cold as she stared at Qin Wentian. This bastard was still as arrogant as before. He actually dared to say such frivolous words in public. No matter who you are, since you dare to speak to Fairy Qinyao in such a manner, slap yourself immediately. Just when Su Qinyao wanted to say something, a person walked out and blocked her path. He stared at Qin Wentian as he coldly spoke, exuding incomparable arrogance. This scene caused the eyes of those who knew of what happened back then to widen as a look of mockery appeared on their faces. This was truly interesting, wanting the saber-sword Immortal King to slap himself. Chapter 1491. Qin Wentian had a mocking expression on his face. He couldn't help but to admit that being beautiful was an advantage. In addition, Su Qinyao wasn't merely beautiful. Right now, her cultivation base had already reached the peak stage of the Immortal King realm. From this, one could see that her talent was extremely outstanding as well. Other than this, she also had a good background. For such a woman, there would naturally be many flower protectors. An example was the person who wanted to slap Qin Wentian. Su Qinyao glanced at the person who walked out. She naturally knew who this person was. Although she didn't have any feelings for this person, she didn't hope for this person to antagonize the saber-sword Immortal King. Su Qinyao knew that although this person's strength was extraordinary, it was simply courting death if he fought against the saber-sword Immortal King. The saber-sword Immortal King from 30 years ago wasn't someone he could afford to antagonize. In addition, Su Qinyao knew what sort of character the saber-sword Immortal King was. There was nothing the saber-sword Immortal King wouldn't dare to do. There's no need for you to interfere in my matters. Just leave this place. Su Qinyao reminded. Fairy Qinyao, you should understand my feelings for you. How can I allow others to humiliate you? This person's words were extremely rude and had a hint of disrespect in them. If he doesn't want to slap himself, I'll kill him myself. That Immortal King spoke in arrogance. His eyes flickered with adoration when he stared at Su Qinyao, not concealing it at all. Su Qinyao's expression turned cold, she couldn't be bothered with this anymore. Since this is the case, do as you wish. That person smiled and nodded to Su Qinyao. After that, he turned to Qin Wentian again, did you not hear my words? Why are you not slapping yourself? As the sound of his voice faded, a dazzling light flashed in Qin Wentian's eyes, akin to lightning. In an instant, the heavens and earth changed color. In his eyes, only a pair of pupils remained. The resplendent sword slashed over, akin to a torrential sword river, unexcelled in the world. Impudent! He roared loudly as law might erupted forth from his body. He punched out, causing the entire space to tremble, wanting to destroy everything. However, the towering sword intent directly vanished, like it had never appeared before. His expression stiffened as a look of bewilderment appeared on his face. However, he only saw another beam of sword light flying over. He stared at the space he was in. He wasn't in the city of ancient emperors at all. He couldn't help but to snort coldly, "Illusory arts are just a minor Tao, how dare you bully me?" After saying that, he didn't attack again. But for the sake of caution, he still used his power of laws to protect his body. The torrential sword river slashed down, as though it was solid. Crisp sounds rang out. His body of laws was broken, and fresh blood splattered everywhere. When the sword landed, his body was directly split apart. He saw his body being split apart with his own eyes, and his entire body trembled. It's fake. This is an illusion. This is clearly an illusion. He roared. The space around him returned to normal. Qin Wentian was still standing before him, causing him to be in wild joy. As expected, this is an illusion, it's fake. However, at the next moment, a scream of agony rang out from his mouth. His body was truly split apart from the middle. His eyes widened explosively, almost popping out of their sockets as he died with a grievance. Silence, the surroundings were filled with silence. Numerous gazes landed on Qin Wentian. From the start till the end, he didn't move at all. The spectators only saw a single glance, a single glance. After that, that immortal king roared in rage before he died, slain. This. Someone glanced at the nine-tailed demon fox on the mountain peak. Wasn't she the same as well? She stood there unmoving, and with a single glance, she caused a supremely powerful greater demon to submit. As for the saber-sword immortal king, with a single glance, he killed a peak-stage immortal king. The rumors are true. This saber-sword immortal king is truly terrifying. For those who came to the city of ancient emperors 30 years ago, they had heard of the saber-sword immortal king's name. But when they personally witnessed this battle, their hearts involuntarily trembled. The city of ancient emperors, a grand era. In the silent air, a voice suddenly rang out, causing many to sigh. That's right, the city of ancient emperors, a grand era. This was truly a grand era. This man didn't have any emperor's fate on him, but when many people looked at him with disdain, he only used a single glance to slay a peak-stage immortal king. How terrifying was this? Emperor's fate appeared behind Qin Wentian, growing stronger and stronger, gleaming with a dazzling light, instantly surpassing many people here. Is this the him 30 years later? Su Qinyao sighed in her heart. Initially, she thought that after she broke through to the peak stage of the immortal king realm, she might be able to match up to this man's combat prowess. But from the looks of things now, she was still too far away. If she fought against the saber-sword immortal king, she most probably wouldn't be able to withstand a single strike. What's your current cultivation base? Su Qinyao stared at Qin Wentian as she asked. Qin Wentian had a smile on his face. He stared at Su Qinyao. Why? Is Fairy Qinyao willing to accompany this seat to chat about romance? At that time, this seat will have a good chat with Fairy Qinyao about cultivation realms. This bastard. Su Qinyao bit her lips. Back then when Qin Wentian brought her away for 7 days, he didn't even touch her. At that time, she already knew that Qin Wentian wasn't a lecherous fellow. He only wanted to tease and punish her. But now, he actually brought it up again, speaking to her in public. Was it because he found it interesting? After 30 years, you should have already broken through to the peak stage of the Immortal King realm when you returned to the City of Ancient Emperors, right? If not, he is still in the City of Ancient Emperors and is even stronger than before. There would be no place for you here. You should be very clear about this point. Su Qinyao probed. Although she guessed that Qin Wentian had already broken through to the peak stage of the Immortal King realm, she still wanted to know the exact answer. There's no place for me here. Qin Wentian mumbled. He naturally understood who Su Qinyao was referring to. Since you are so curious, let me tell you. I'm the same as you. As expected. Su Qinyao's heart trembled. Back then when the saber-sword Immortal King was at the mid-stage of the Immortal King realm, he could already fight against a group of Immortal Kings, defeating Huang Jiutian and the Yama King. Now that he has broken through to the peak stage, how strong was he exactly? However, would the him now be able to defeat that person? Her bright eyes stared at Su Qinyao. Su Qinyao spoke. During these 30 years, the changes in the City of Ancient Emperors are extremely great. Many good fortune appeared, and there are also Tao elements descending from the heavens. Everyone's strength is rapidly rising. Even if you have broken through now, he wouldn't remain stagnant. If you fight again, you might not be his opponent. I advise you to leave. Fairy Qinyao, are you worried about this seat? Qin Wentian smiled. Just like in the past, when he came to the City of Ancient Emperors, he was the saber-sword Immortal King. He was no longer Qin Wentian. I'm worried about you. Su Qinyao rolled her eyes at Qin Wentian. I'm only reminding you. I'm afraid you might be too complacent and think that you can defeat the Yama King just because you broke through. You are improving, but others are also improving as well. Don't run away with your tail between your legs like before. Oh. An expression of interest appeared on Qin Wentian's face. How powerful was his eyes? They contained the will of truth, able to see through all illusions. Although Su Qinyao spoke to him in a malicious manner, he could clearly sense that she had no ill intentions towards him. If not, why would he be so polite to her? Pass a message to this seat. Tell the Yama King to scram over here and kneel before this seat to apologize. If not, this seat will cripple his cultivation. Qin Wentian inclined his head and stared at everyone as he spoke. Just a single sentence caused the hearts of countless people to tremble violently. Numerous incomparably sharp gazes shot over, staring at Qin Wentian. Yama King. Their hearts trembled, almost thinking that they had heard wrongly. However, given how powerful their hearing abilities were, it was impossible for them to be wrong. This person wanted the Yama King to scram over here and even wanted him to kneel and apologize. This is madness. Their hearts trembled as they stared at Qin Wentian in disbelief. Right now in the City of Ancient Emperors, who didn't know of the Yama King's name? In the City of Ancient Emperors where geniuses were as common as the clouds, if one were to say which characters they couldn't afford to antagonize, the Yama King would definitely be one of them. Su Qinyao's beautiful eyes froze as she stared unblinkingly at Qin Wentian. Was he returning the words that the Yama King had said to him back then to the Yama King? She frowned. You are just letting your emotions affect your decisions. You better think clearly before you speak. You have already cultivated to this level, why must you disregard your own life for the sake of courage? Is this worth it? Qin Wentian stared at Su Qinyao in bewilderment. An expression of interest flashed in his eyes, causing Su Qinyao to glare at him fiercely. Back then, I spent 7 days talking about romance with Fairy Qinyao. Could it be that Fairy Qinyao has fallen in love with this seat? Qin Wentian had a strange look on his face. Fallen in love with you? Su Qinyao's face was filled with black lines. She glared at Qin Wentian. In that case, you can go and die. Qin Wentian laughed. He didn't care about Su Qinyao's cursing. He turned to the experts here and spoke, everyone, you can go and spread the words of this seat. Tell the Yama King to scram to kneel in front of this seat and repent. Su Qinyao bit her lips lightly as she stared at Qin Wentian, thinking in her heart that this fellow must have gone crazy. The experts in the surroundings were all in an uproar. For those who have never heard of the saber-sword Immortal King before, they were all wondering who this fellow was exactly. If the Yama King heard of this, would he still be alive? At this moment, the eyelashes of that beautiful figure who had been calmly standing on the mountain peak suddenly fluttered. After that, a pair of resplendent eyes opened as her robes fluttered in the wind. Her gaze slowly turned over and landed on Qin Wentian. She naturally recognized Qin Wentian. Back then when the saber-sword Immortal King fought against the Yama King, she was at the side and personally witnessed that battle. Right now, the saber-sword Immortal King has returned and domineeringly declared a challenge to the Yama King. She didn't say anything, her beautiful eyes slowly closed again. Qin Wentian also glanced over. He initially thought that the demons of the desolate mountains were all uncivilized and ruthless greater demons. He didn't expect that there would actually be a nine-tailed demon fox maiden who was so beautiful to such an extent. She was born a demon, yet she actually exuded a pure and holy aura, like a goddess. The news of the saber-sword Immortal King wanting the Yama King to scram before him to kneel and repent instantly caused a huge commotion in the city of ancient emperors. Some people laughed it off after hearing this, silently mocking the saber-sword Immortal King for not knowing the immensity of death. During these years, there were many such characters in the city of ancient emperors who wanted to challenge the strongest experts the moment they arrived, using their emperor's fate to shake the entire city of ancient emperors. However, there were also some people who knew about the battle 30 years ago. All of them were extremely interested as they sped towards the direction Qin Wentian was in. After 30 years, was the saber-sword Immortal King going to challenge the Yama King again? Very swiftly, the news spread to the experts under Zidi from the Violet Mountain, as well as the 9 Emperors' Immortal State, the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom, the Supreme Sword School, the Taihua Immortal Dynasty and many other immortal kings. In an instant, countless experts in the city of ancient emperors all rushed towards the direction Qin Wentian was in. Chapter 1492. Qin Wentian has been waiting here. Although the city of ancient emperors was very vast, since the Yama King's name resounded throughout the city, his words would surely be transmitted out at an extremely fast speed. Unless the Yama King was in closed-door seclusion, he should be able to hear his words very quickly. In the city of ancient emperors, emperor's fate was akin to luck. Now that he came here again, his emperor's fate had to start anew. If he wanted to strengthen his emperor's fate as quickly as possible, it was very simple. He had to defeat those with the highest prestige in the city of ancient emperors and he would instantly gain the respect of everyone here. This was one of the reasons why he called out to the Yama King. As more and more experts arrived, their gazes all landed on Qin Wentian. Was this man the saber-sword Immortal King? Telling the Yama King to crawl over and kneel before him to repent? Was he courting death? Bzz. A raging wind gusted by as 2 greater demons flew over. They floated in the air and stared at Qin Wentian. These 2 demons were extremely outstanding. One of them was in the form of a golden rock while the other was in the form of a vermilion bird. The golden rock silhouette flashed as it circled above Qin Wentian's head. An expression of interest could be seen in its eyes. Little rascal, scram away. Don't let others recognize you. Qin Wentian transmitted his voice to this fellow. So it turned out that these 2 greater demons were none other than Little Rascal and Purgatory. 1 human and 2 demons were connected by blood, they naturally knew each other. Little Rascal who was in the form of a golden rock continued circling in the air, squeaking. After that, it landed on Qin Wentian's head and stretched out its claws, slapping Qin Wentian's head twice. You dare to challenge the Yama King? Not bad. Do you believe this seat won't kill you? Qin Wentian inclined his head and glanced at Little Rascal. This fellow even dared to tease him. You are quite gutsy, daring to threaten this king. Although Little Rascal's voice sounded more mature, it was still somewhat immature. Calling himself this king sounded somewhat comical, causing many to laugh in their hearts. What little demon was this? He was actually quite adorable. Your wings have hardened. Qin Wentian transmitted his voice to Little Rascal. After that, he abruptly stretched his hand out and grabbed at the air. This Little Rascal actually dared to challenge him. Swoosh! A golden bolt of lightning arced through the air. Little Rascal instantly slipped away, causing Qin Wentian's hand to grab onto empty air. Little Rascal's body shrunk back to its original size, turning back into a snow-white little demon. It was covered in fur and looked extremely adorable. Under the bewildered gazes of the crowd, Little Rascal actually leaped onto the shoulder of the female on the ancient peak. Sister Divine Fox, he bullied me. Eh. Qin Wentian had an expression of astonishment on his face when he saw this scene. After which, he only saw the goddess-like maiden stretching out her fair hands and pulling Little Rascal into her embrace, gently caressing his skin as she coldly glanced at Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian was completely dumbfounded. Bastard, this Little Rascal was simply a demon-level character. It seemed like there were no beautiful women he couldn't handle, right? Including Princess Kitamura and this nine-tailed demon fox. They were simply two demon-level characters. Little Rascal straightened his head and had a complacent expression on his face as he stared at Qin Wentian. Purgatory transformed into her human form, revealing a fiery figure. Her pure and innocent countenance exuded a seductive aura, causing many to involuntarily cast a few glances at her. These greater demons were all truly beautiful. Purgatory glanced at Qin Wentian and also received the voice transmission from Qin Wentian. She didn't say anything and simply moved to the side as she transmitted her voice. Big brother Qin, the Yama King's strength stands at the peak of the city of ancient emperors. His combat prowess is extremely powerful. Do you have the confidence to challenge him? I don't know. Qin Wentian replied with a smile. How did Little Rascal cultivate? How did he reach the peak stage of the Demon King realm? How long have you guys been in the city of ancient emperors? We've been here for many years. Little Rascal has always been taken care of by a senior heaven-devouring beast. Also, his talent is extremely terrifying and he has unique innate techniques. His cultivation speed is extremely fast, but he only broke through not too long ago. Purgatory gently spoke. Qin Wentian nodded lightly. Back then, Little Rascal had already reached the mid-stage of the Immortal King realm. He didn't expect that this time around, Little Rascal's cultivation speed would be even faster, directly breaking through to the peak stage of the Immortal King realm. Purgatory was only at the mid-stage of the Immortal King realm. What's going on between him and that demon fox maiden? Qin Wentian asked again. That maiden possesses the purest bloodline of the nine-tailed fox race. It's rumored that she is a descendant of a nine-tailed divine fox. Senior heaven-devouring beast has some friendship with the nine-tailed fox race and had once brought Little Rascal to the nine-tailed fox race as a guest. Hence, they are acquainted with each other. The moment Little Rascal met her, he immediately tried to suck up to her. Isn't it all because he found her beautiful? Purgatory spoke with disdain. She had been together with Little Rascal for many years and could be considered to have experienced how shameless Little Rascal was. Qin Wentian sweated. He didn't intend to acknowledge Little Rascal anymore. His face was completely thrown away by him. The holy maiden of the Nam Huang clan is here as well. Before this, we were together. Purgatory reminded. A raging wind gusted by as more and more experts arrived. And as expected, Qin Wentian saw the holy maidens of the Nam Huang clan arriving, including Nam Huang Yunshi. She was dressed in red, resembling a phoenix robe, exuding a sense of nobility and holiness. Saber Sword Immortal King. Nam Huang Yunshi smiled as she called out. Holy Maiden Nam Huang Yunshi, how have you been? Qin Wentian laughed. This saber-sword immortal king is acquainted with the holy maidens of the Namhuang clan. Many people had strange looks on their faces. You still dare to return? A cold voice rang out. A group of experts appeared, all of them were clad in yellow robes, exuding an air of nobility and unexcelled in the world. The person in the lead was none other than Huang Jiutian, who was heavily injured by Qin Wentian back then. Qin Wentian glanced at him as he laughed, "A loser still dares to appear before me?" Huang Jiutian's expression sank. The experts from the 9 Emperors' immortal state all released their auras. Why? You want to start a war? A holy maiden from the Namhuang clan glanced at him. Start a war? Qin Wentian laughed as he glanced at the people from the 9 Emperors' immortal state. Just them? Are they even qualified? Impudent. An expert from the 9 Emperors' immortal state coldly spoke. Bzz. Qin Wentian glanced at his opponent as his eyes turned incomparably terrifying. His opponent was instantly immersed in it. With a thunderous roar, Emperor might gushed forth from him, shocking the experts from the 9 Emperors' immortal state. In just a short instant, a line of blood appeared on that person's forehead as he screamed in agony as he fell from the air. Boom, boom, boom. The experts from the 9 Emperors' immortal state were all shocked as they stared at Qin Wentian. Saber-sword immortal king. Huang Jiutian roared. His body soared up into the air as his battle intent towered up into the sky. I will count to 9. If you all still dare to appear before me, I will kill you all without mercy. Qin Wentian calmly spoke. After that, he directly added, 9. Kill him. Fight. How could the experts from the 9 Emperors' immortal state endure such humiliation? All of them roared in rage. Huang Jiutian's body trembled as his might swept over everything. 8. Qin Wentian spoke again. The experts from the 9 Emperors' immortal state roared in rage. Huang Jiutian stared at the disdain in Qin Wentian's eyes as he thought back to the battle in the past. A hint of trepidation could be seen in the depths of his eyes. 7. Qin Wentian didn't bother to waste words with them and continued shouting. Should we fight or not? Someone stared at Huang Jiutian, who was in the air. Although Huang Jiutian's aura was extremely tyrannical, he still didn't step forward. During these 30 years, his improvement was extremely great. His combat prowess had transformed, and when he encountered the saber-sword immortal king again, he felt an impulse to wipe away his previous humiliation. He couldn't help but want to fight. However, he didn't expect the saber-sword immortal king to be even more arrogant than before. With just a glance, he killed the expert who spoke earlier. 6, 5. Qin Wentian was still counting. Huang Jiutian felt an incomparable struggle in his heart. During these 30 years, his improvement was so great. But what about Qin Wentian? Could it be that he had stagnated? Earlier, Qin Wentian didn't even sense any law energy fluctuations from that single glance of his, and he already killed one of them. This was simply too terrifying. Also, this time around, he returned to fight the Yama king again. Since he dared to return and even called out to the crown prince, what level of strength did he reach? There was no need to doubt his strength at the peak stage of the immortal king realm, or he wouldn't have returned. 4. Qin Wentian continued. Those experts from the 9 Emperors' immortal state who were shouting for war didn't move at all. The people in the surroundings all felt a surge of emotions in their hearts. Although the Yama king hasn't arrived yet, they didn't expect the foreplay to be so fascinating. The words of the experts from the 9 Emperors' immortal state were incomparably tyrannical, but the saber-sword immortal king was even more tyrannical. He was simply lawless, causing the experts from the 9 Emperors' immortal state to be so frightened that they didn't dare to move. The saber-sword immortal king stood there alone. It was like he was invincible against 10,000 enemies. The experts from the 9 Emperors' immortal state were all filled with trepidation, they didn't dare to fight. 3. Qin Wenqian's tone turned heavy. His body slowly floated up as his eyes gleamed with sharpness, staring at Huang Jiutian. Huang Jiutian's heart pounded violently. He struggled incomparably as his face turned red. "Let's go." Finally, he spoke as he turned and departed. The experts from the 9 Emperors' Immortal State all felt extremely ashamed when they saw this scene. They only felt that they had no face left, but they all followed after Huang Jiutian and soared into the distance. Their speed was extremely fast, vanishing in the blink of an eye. They basically didn't have the face to stay behind. The hearts of everyone trembled as they stared at the silhouette of the saber-sword Immortal King. At this instant, even for those who have never heard of the saber-sword Immortal King's name before, they were all stunned. The experts from the 9 Emperors' Immortal State and Huang Jiutian were actually frightened away by a single sentence. This simply toppled their line of thinking. Madness, the current city of ancient emperors is too crazy. Everyone silently mused. The people from the 9 Emperors' Immortal State are truly gutless. Someone spoke. However, Qin Wenqian acted as though nothing had happened. He floated there and swept his gaze over the crowd. "If there's anyone else who wants to provoke us, feel free to act directly. There's no need to be polite, this seat will wait here for you. Just nice, before the Yama King arrives, I can exercise my hands and legs." The surroundings fell silent. The experts here exchanged mutual glances. Little Rascal's eyes were wide open as he stared in the direction of Qin Wenqian. Hee hee. A sound of laughter rang out from his mouth. This fellow was so arrogant after transforming into the saber-sword Immortal King. He was simply too violent. Luckily, he fled quickly earlier or he would definitely be beaten up. Seems like he had to be more low-profile in the future. Chapter 1493. Don't you understand my words? If you want to fight, just step out. This seat will naturally grant you your wish. If you want to fart, just scram further away. Qin Wenqian calmly glanced at the saber-sword Immortal King as he spoke. He was as arrogant as ever, able to act so domineeringly to the experts of the 9 Emperors' Immortal State, even daring to tell the Supreme Crown Prince to kneel and beg for forgiveness. One could tell with a single glance what sort of personality this saber-sword Immortal King had. Most probably, there were no humans or demons in the city of ancient emperors that he didn't dare to antagonize. Back then, you were already defeated by my elder brother and fled in a sorry state, not even scramming out of the city of ancient emperors. Yet, you still dare to appear here. Are you courting death? Yan Luotian stopped in the air and pointed at Qin Wenqian, speaking with incomparable arrogance. He was none other than the younger brother of the Yama King. Earlier, weren't you very arrogant? The saber-sword Immortal King was defeated by your elder brother. Back then, how strong was your elder brother? He was at the peak stage of the Immortal King realm. What about the saber-sword Immortal King? He's at the mid-stage of the Immortal King realm. You actually still have the face to use this to show off. Yan Luotian, no wonder you still dared to ask your clan members to help you after you were defeated. Truly shameless. Jun Mengchen crossed his arms before his chest as he mocked. Senior brother Qin should have broken through to the peak stage of the Immortal King realm, right? There shouldn't be a problem for him to kill that fellow. Jun Mengchen was still very confident in Qin Wenqian. You are finally here. It has been 30 years since we last met. This time around, you should be able to kill that fellow, right? When Jun Mengchen heard the saber-sword Immortal King calling out to the Yama King, he instantly knew that his senior brother Qin had arrived. How could he not rush over with his fastest speed? Right now, he was already at the mid-stage of the Immortal King realm and could travel alone. A strange scene appeared. After Qin Wenqian scared off the experts of the 9 Emperors' Immortal State, the Emperor's fate behind him grew even more resplendent, radiating a dazzling light that surpassed many people. Such shameless boasting. Why don't you go up and try? A human, Wuxia, mocked and egged him on. Qin Wentian glanced at the emperor's fate on Jun Mengchen's body. It was extremely resplendent, surpassing the majority of the people here, causing Qin Wentian's eyes to flash with a bright light. However, he still maintained his calm and transmitted his voiceover. I have no idea how strong the Yama King's true combat prowess is. After all, I wasn't able to fully probe his strength back then. Many people glanced at Jun Mengchen as they whispered to each other. Clearly, Jun Mengchen was extremely famous in the city of ancient emperors. They naturally wouldn't hear the voice transmission between Jun Mengchen and Qin Wentian. They only thought that Jun Mengchen was here to join in the fun. Greetings, Crown Prince. Many experts from the Sanluo Immortal Empire bowed. Even though they were experts from the royal clans, this was the prestige of a supreme crown prince. His authority in the Sanluo Immortal Empire towered up into the sky and his status was unparalleled. Many immortal emperors had to show him respect when they saw him. The Yama King was incomparably arrogant. He sat on the dragon war chariot as his eyes gleamed with divine light. He didn't even look at Qin Wentian, as though he was filled with disdain. His gaze landed on the beautiful maiden on the ancient peak. Qin Wentian sweated when he heard Jun Mengchen's voice transmission. This fellow was already a major character at the mid-stage of the Immortal King realm, yet he was still so carefree. One of the experts from the Nine Emperors' immortal state was killed with a single glance, yet the others didn't dare to move. In fact, Qin Wentian directly berated and threatened them to leave. This undoubtedly proved how strong the saber-sword Immortal King was. How could his emperor's fate not be strong? This scene caused even the enemies of Qin Wentian who were hiding in the crowd to know their place, not daring to act recklessly. Yan Luotian's strength is also very strong. But what sort of character is Jun Mengchen? He obtained the Tao element's inheritance at the mid-stage of the Immortal King realm. How powerful is he? If he breaks through to the peak stage of the Immortal King realm, he would surely be one of the top characters. Yan Luotian is still a little lacking. Many people silently mused. Yama King, the Yama Crown Prince has arrived. Yan Luotian was mocked in public. He roared in anger as his aura gushed forth violently. He coldly spoke, "What does this have to do with you?" The wind and clouds in the air changed, and the heavens and earth seemed to have become violent. Rumbling sounds rang out, and the clouds churned madly. A dazzling light was released from there, as though there was Emperor's fate shooting up into the sky. The golden light was like a divine light, incomparably dazzling. This fellow is here to join in the fun as well. Hee. Jun Mengchen laughed. Senior brother Qin, no matter what, this junior brother has trained in the city of ancient emperors for 30 years. How can I not have any fame? Don't you know whose junior brother I am? I can't lose face for you, right? Senior brother Qin. A voice drifted into his ears. Qin Wentian saw that Jun Mengchen had arrived. It's Jun Mengchen. It's Yan Luotian. I was wondering who was causing a ruckus here. I didn't expect to meet you here again. In the previous battle, you scrammed away with your tail between your legs. Do you want to try again this time around? Even before Qin Wentian could speak, Jun Mengchen already stood out and spoke with a mocking tone. Not long ago, you said that you wanted to kill someone, but in the end, you were chased away with just a few words. I heard that this person is a heaven chosen from the strongest human power in the immortal realms, the Nine Emperors' immortal state. I've always known that humans are weak, but I didn't expect humans to be so weak to such an extent. They are as lowly as ants. Another greater demon spoke in a mocking tone, not mincing words. That greater demon from the Heavenhold race grinned, looking extremely malevolent. He stared at Qin Wentian and coldly spoke, "You are still so arrogant even on the verge of death. I'll let you humans bite each other first. I'm sure the Yama King will naturally kill you, there's no need for this king to act." Are you the one who wants to challenge the crown prince of my Sanluo immortal empire? A cold voice rang out. From afar, a group of extraordinary figures could be seen walking over, all of them exuding the aura of kings. These were all experts from the royal clan of the Sanluo immortal empire. Even before they arrived, their voices already rang out, causing this entire space to tremble like thunder. Qin Wentian's lips curled up into a mocking smile, as though he was mocking the other party. Just like what he said, he only knew how to boast but didn't have the guts to start a war. Qin Wentian's eyes flickered with a smile, but his thin lips gave off the sharpness of swords. His gaze swept over the experts in the air as he spoke. If you all want to start a war, just do it. There's no need to come here to instigate me. If you all want this seat to play with you all, you only have to say the word and this seat will definitely grant you your wish. As for those filthy words of yours, the weak want to use arrogant words to gain face. If that's the case, this seat would really suspect that their brains are not developed yet. What would you do if it was you? Interesting, these humans are too interesting. A demonic beast had a demonic gleam in his eyes as he mocked, feeling disdain for humans. That woman inclined her head and calmly glanced at the Yama king. She didn't say anything. Whose brains are you saying are not developed yet? A voice filled with evil qi drifted over. Qin Wentian saw a pair of ugly and demonic eyes staring at him. The owner of the voice was a human with an extremely ugly countenance. He was a greater demon from the Heavenhold race in human form. He is even more terrifying now. Gradually, the experts from the Tenlon Heaven Kingdom and the other major powers all arrived. However, no one dared to mention anything about revenge. The saber-sword immortal king hovered there, his presence was like a formless threat. Qin Wentian naturally couldn't be bothered with him. He continued standing there quietly. Although demonic beasts were more violent and impulsive, they weren't fools. Qin Wentian was able to order the experts of the 9 Emperors' immortal state to leave. Clearly, his combat prowess was extraordinary. In addition, he would soon die in the hands of the Yama king. Why was there a need to start a war with him? Qin Wentian was merely using this opportunity to vent his cravings while mocking the humans of the immortal realms. For example, many of Zidi's sect members had also arrived. However, they only stared in the direction of Qin Wentian and didn't move. You can consider it well. The Yama king continued. After that, his gaze turned to Qin Wentian and Jun Mengchen with lightning speed. There was actually someone who told him to roll over and kneel in repentance. There had never been anyone who dared to speak to him in such a manner before. This time around, he could be considered to have experienced something new. I will directly tear off his head and eat it. Yan Luotian's expression changed when he saw that it was Jun Mengchen. He then spoke, Jun Mengchen, this has nothing to do with you. Scram. Qin Wentian glanced at these people. He had met one of them before. It was none other than Yan Luotian whom he met when he headed to the Demon God Mountain. Yan Luotian had provoked him before. In truth, he had met many people in the city of ancient emperors before. If he appeared with his original appearance, there would surely be many people who would recognize him. Saber-sword immortal king, what do you think? A human expert stared at Qin Wentian as he asked. Junior brother, you seem to be quite famous. Qin Wentian felt somewhat bewildered as he transmitted his voice to Qin Wentian. You. Yan Luotian was so agitated that his entire body trembled. He almost couldn't control himself and attacked. However, he knew that he wouldn't be able to win against Jun Mengchen. A resplendent dragon-shaped war chariot appeared in the air. Golden light engulfed the area as a terrifying pressure bore down, terrifying to the extreme. He didn't offend this king. If not, how could he do this? A greater demon spoke in disdain. The hearts of everyone trembled. Such an appearance was simply too magnificent. Only the supreme crown prince would be able to do such a thing, exuding imposingness in all directions. Who dares to be impudent here? A thunderous voice rang out, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. This voice seemed to indicate that the crown prince had arrived. You are still as beautiful as ever. For you, I'm willing to give up my pursuit of Su Qingyao and give you the position of the crown princess of the Sanluo Immortal Empire. How about it? The supreme crown prince directly spoke. Su Qingyao's expression changed, becoming somewhat unsightly to behold. Although she had never accepted the pursuit of the Yama king before, the fact that he said such words in public would undoubtedly damage her face. He simply didn't care about her thoughts and face at all. This was the reason why she didn't like the Yama king. Although his talent was unrivaled, he was too arrogant and had no one in his eyes. One could even say that he had no one in his eyes. How does this have nothing to do with me? The saber-sword Immortal King is my friend. You and I are on the same level, but you were beaten up like a dog by me. You even have the face to mock others. If I were you, I would scram as far as I can right now. Jun Mengchen impolitely spoke. Upon seeing Yan Luotian's aura exploding forth, he laughed. Why? You want to try again? Do you want a life-and-death battle? Some of the experts of the demon clan spoke in a disdainful tone, mocking the human martial cultivators. Seems like Yan Luotian is smacking his own face. Earlier he was so arrogant, but the next moment, he encountered Jun Mengchen. Chapter 1494. At this moment, they saw a gigantic foot that blotted out the sun stomping down, exuding a towering destructive might. This foot was like the footprints of a devil god, shining with a dazzling dark runic light as it trampled everything. Those who had witnessed the battle back then knew that 30 years ago, this foot had flattened the saber-sword Immortal King, but it wasn't able to kill him. This saber-sword Immortal King seemed to have an undying body. The Yama King's eyes turned to Jun Mengchen, ignoring Qin Wentian, who told him to roll over to the side. Chaotic laws, huh? Qin Wentian mumbled. The most terrifying thing about the Azura Hell wasn't the destructive might or the demon kings here. It was the chaotic laws, restricting people from borrowing the power of the heavens and earth, causing their opponents to be unable to unleash their true strength. Chi. A spear pierced over, exuding an unexcelled pressure. The Netherworld King's spear that could penetrate through the heavens and earth pierced through the light barrier around Qin Wentian, yet it was actually shattered bit by bit, transforming into motes of light that slowly vanished into nothingness. I really can't stand your tone. It's already a miracle that someone like you can survive until now. Jun Mengchen stared at the Yama King. Maybe it's because you have a good background, many people don't dare to kill you. If not, people like you would have already died countless times. I really want to see if you, who has broken through to the peak stage of the Immortal King realm, can walk out of my law domain. Don't play dead like before. The Yama King waved his hand, stomping on the ground. In an instant, rumbling sounds rang out in the Azura Hell as numerous demon kings appeared, all of them exuding terrifying auras. Each of these demon kings had peak-stage Immortal King combat prowess, exuding a fearsome aura. Impudent. Qin Wentian inclined his head and stared at the sky, disregarding everything. Bullying someone with a lower cultivation base. You seem to think that you are very impressive. This younger brother of yours has a mid-stage Immortal King cultivation base, I don't even need to lift a finger to kill him. Do you believe that I can kill him instantly? Indeed, he is too arrogant. However, the Crown Prince's strength was there for all to see. Others would only think that he was peerless and unparalleled. Who would dare to mock him like Jun Mengchen? Yama King, back then you bullied the saber-sword Immortal King because his cultivation base was lower than yours. You were so immensely proud of yourself after defeating him. Now that the saber-sword Immortal King has returned and wants you to kneel and apologize, you are actually trying to act imposing in front of me? Do you think you are very impressive? Right now, do you see that little brother of yours who is at the same cultivation realm as me? The saber-sword Immortal King can make him kneel with a single sentence. It's only because he disdains to flaunt his might before the weak. Don't you feel ashamed? Jun Mengchen's aura burst forth. Even though he was in the Azura Hell, he didn't feel the slightest bit of fear as he directly challenged the Yama King in the void. The experts from the Sanluo Immortal Empire and Yama Tian all had looks of surprise on their faces. They knew how terrifying the Yama King's law domain was. Yet, he actually couldn't break through the saber-sword Immortal King's defense. How dare you? The Yama King roared. The Azura Hell instantly appeared, transforming into a supreme might that enveloped this entire space, including the place where Qin Wentian and Jun Mengchen were at. Everything was covered by the Azura Hell. However, before the battle started, the vast majority of people felt that the saber-sword Immortal King was already dead. Although he was already very strong and could kill peak-stage Immortal Kings with ease, forcing the experts from the 9 Emperors' immortal state to retreat with a single sentence, the fame of this supreme crown prince was simply too great. He has already dominated the city of ancient emperors for over 30 years and rarely met a match for him. Most probably, even the saber-sword Immortal King wouldn't be able to do anything to him. What a powerful body of laws. In the Azura Hell, he relied on his body of laws to directly destroy an attack from a peak-stage Immortal King. Such an attack can't even break his body of laws. Just a single strike was sufficient to sense how strong the saber-sword Immortal King was. Many people had heavy expressions on their faces. Someone who dared to challenge the Yama King was truly an extraordinary character. Just wait. Yama Tian flicked his sleeves and flew towards the experts from the Sanluo Immortal Empire. After that, he stared at the scene of destruction in the Azura Hell. Tell them to leave. Qin Wentian waved his hand, he didn't want to say anything more. Now, if this foot stomped down, what would the ending be? How dare you be so impudent to the people of my Sanluo Immortal Empire? Kneel down. The Yama King roared. His voice was like heavenly might, causing the heavens and earth to rumble as the void trembled. A formless and terrifying energy was like a bolt from the blue, penetrating through everything, causing the hearts of everyone to tremble. Jun Mengchen's body also trembled slightly. However, his eyes were as sharp as ever as he inclined his head and stared at the Yama King in the air. Chi-chi. A terrifying screeching sound rang out. That gigantic foot stomped downwards, wanting to bury the saber-sword Immortal King within. Chi-chi. Terrifying screeching sounds rang out. To think that there are so many people who dare to challenge this king. Truly not knowing the immensity of death. He lifted his palm and prepared to kill Jun Mengchen. Before this, many people still felt that the Yama King couldn't be bothered to show himself and would only send people to kill this arrogant young man. Outside the Azura Hell, the Yama King and Jun Mengchen walked out. The Yama King's expression was extremely ugly to behold. Earlier, he was forced to kneel by Qin Wentian. This was a great humiliation to him. Wait for me to kill him first before I kill you. I won't make you wait for too long. The Yama King glanced at Jun Mengchen. Since Qin Wentian dared to be so impudent, he would kill him first. If not, others would say that he bullied those with lower cultivation bases. Since this saber-sword Immortal King dared to challenge him, it was clear that he had already broken through to the peak stage of the Immortal King realm. Although your law domain can only bully those with lower cultivation bases, this seat also hopes that your strength can be stronger. If you only rely on a weak law domain, wouldn't it be too boring? Qin Wentian calmly replied. Their words were filled with extreme arrogance. Back then, you bullied the saber-sword Immortal King because his cultivation base was lower than yours. Why? Are you preparing to act against me now? Yama King, although you are famous, in my eyes, you are nothing at all. Jun Mengchen stared at the Yama King, staring straight at him. Rumble. A chaotic aura engulfed the area as boundless destructive light rained down from the sky. The Yama king stood up from his dragon chariot, his yellow robes fluttered in the wind. He was like a supreme emperor, exuding boundless prestige, standing above the masses. You still dare to speak arrogantly to me? Jun Mengchen stared mockingly at the Yama king. What's going on? At this moment, the spectators only saw a resplendent light radiating from the gigantic foot. After which, the gigantic foot was torn apart, revealing the tiny figure within. Although he was tiny, his entire body radiated a divine light that could destroy everything. The gigantic foot that stomped down not only didn't manage to crush him, it was directly pierced through instead. It was as though the attacks of this Azura hell had no way to break through his defense. The Yama king's eyes pierced through everything, staring at Qin Wentian. This saber-sword immortal king not only told him to roll over and kneel before him, he even wanted to use the life of his younger brother to threaten him. The Azura hell erupted as all sorts of terrifying attacks frenziedly shot towards Qin Wentian. But the ending was the same. All the attacks were instantly shattered into dust when they landed on Qin Wentian. There was no attack that could break his body of laws. It was basically impossible for the Yama king to use his law domain to kill the saber-sword immortal king. Chapter 1495. Ha ha ha. The Yama king laughed maniacally when he heard Qin Wentian's words. As his laughter rang out, countless people could feel the heavens and earth trembling. Rumbling sounds rang out in the air, it felt like the entire sky was about to collapse. Many experts who stood extremely far away all retreated. Was the Yama king enraged? If he used his full strength, it was unknown how violent he would be. Right now, the Yama king had obtained the inheritance of a Tao element and was even stronger compared to 30 years ago. This saber-sword immortal king would most probably die if he fought against him. What a pity for a supreme character like him. However, in this great era, how many geniuses would turn to dust? Everyone had a possibility of dying. This saber-sword immortal king wasn't willing to be ordinary and wanted to challenge the Yama king. He must have made his preparations. Rumbling sounds rang out, the law energy in the air was seething as well. Only to see the Yama king's law domain, the Azura hell, also started howling. Incomparably terrifying energy transformed into a destructive devil king that could devour everything. It was incomparably gigantic, and its gigantic eyes stared at Qin Wentian as it brandished a gigantic black saber. There has never been anyone who dared to do this before this king. Not even immortal emperors. Today, this king's horizons have truly been broadened. The Yama king coldly spoke. Slash. As the sound of his voice faded, the terrifying destructive devil king slashed out with its saber, splitting apart the mountains and rivers. It was countless times more powerful compared to the demon king earlier. It was simply too terrifying, like a king of slaughter. The law light radiating from Qin Wentian grew even more resplendent. His constellation manifested, transforming into a gigantic human figure that exuded a heaven-shaking law energy. He then blasted out a supreme palm imprint in the air. With a thunderous boom, the destructive saber light slammed into the palm imprint, completely annihilating it. Is this a constellation formed from your astral soul? You infused law energy into it. However, how long can your law energy endure? The Yama king laughed loudly. He stood with his hands behind his back, resembling a supreme emperor. I've said it before. If you only have the strength of this law domain, stop embarrassing yourself. This seat will give you a chance to unleash your strongest attack. Qin Wentian inclined his head and stared at the sky. Who was more arrogant than who? Two fellows with the same temperament. Everyone thought to themselves. They were both too arrogant, so arrogant that they considered everyone beneath their notice. Jun Mengchen stared at Qin Wentian with excitement in his heart. He discovered that his senior brother was truly interesting after he transformed into the saber-sword immortal king. He was actually so tyrannical and domineering. This wasn't like his usual senior brother. Nam Huang Yunxi's beautiful eyes also flashed with a bright light, feeling somewhat bewildered. Qin Wentian seemed different from the past. Maybe because he had transformed into the saber-sword Immortal King, he wanted people to differentiate between him and Qin Wentian. In the city of ancient emperors, Qin Wentian only killed people with heaven-defying backgrounds. Although many of them were his enemies, Qin Wentian didn't want to completely enrage them. The consequences would be unimaginable. My strongest attack. Are you even worthy? The Yama King coldly spoke. Break through my Azura hell first before I show you the other powers of this king. This seat's patience has a limit. I'm giving you a chance, you better cherish it. If not, once this seat kills you, don't blame this seat for not giving you a chance. As for your Azura hell, this seat can directly disregard it. Qin Wentian's tone was as arrogant as ever, completely not putting the Yama King in his eyes. This caused everyone to be completely speechless. This fellow, I've cultivated for so many years, but I've never met someone as arrogant and ignorant as you. Since you want to die so badly, I'll grant you your wish. The Yama King had completely lost his patience. A terrifying destructive might manifested behind him, causing the sky to distort as the void trembled. Numerous demon kings from purgatory appeared in this space. Destroy. The Yama King stretched out his palm. It was like the hand of a devil king, penetrating through everything, directly descending upon the Azura hell. Even the spectators from afar could clearly feel how terrifying the might was. Slash. That terrifying constellation behind Qin Wentian slashed out with a sword. As this sword slashed out, even the sky lost its color. A river of swords appeared in the Azura hell, gushing forth, piercing through the 9 heavens, slashing towards the Devil King's hand. It was unknown how ferocious the attack power was. However, Qin Wentian still stood there arrogantly, not moving at all. If the Yama King was like a supreme emperor, a destructive devil god, Qin Wentian was like a true paragon of swords and sabers, wanting to destroy the heavens. Everyone stared at the silhouette behind Qin Wentian. That silhouette was formed from constellation, completely formed from law energy. In fact, the saber-sword Immortal King's law energy had already been perfectly infused into it. This silhouette shone with a divine-like light, having no flaws at all. It was simply too perfect. Although the saber-sword Immortal King couldn't control the laws of heaven and earth in the Azura hell, just based on his constellation alone, he could directly fight against the Yama King, not fearing the chaotic law domain. Puchi. A gigantic spear pierced through the air, piercing towards Qin Wentian. It was as though a pitch-black hole had appeared in the Azura hell, shooting towards Qin Wentian. That terrifying destruction Devil King of the Azura hell slashed out once more. Terrifying attacks rained down, wanting to kill Qin Wentian directly within the Azura hell. You still don't want to give up? Qin Wentian coldly spoke. The silhouette formed from constellation behind him radiated resplendent beams of light. Each beam was like a torrential sword river, a supreme pagoda will, a towering palm imprint, all of them blasting out unceasingly, causing the Azura hell to tremble. All the attacks were negated by Qin Wentian. Just based on the strength displayed by the saber-sword Immortal King now, most probably even peak-stage Immortal Kings wouldn't be his opponent. He's simply too violent. The spectators sighed in admiration. Qin Wentian was yet another character who could contend against the Supreme Crown Prince. If he waited until his cultivation base was higher and reached the peak stage of the Immortal King realm before he challenged the Yama King, he might really have a chance to win. I've already said it before. This seat's patience is limited. I'll give you 9 more seconds before I take your life. This is your final chance. I'll start the countdown now. Qin Wentian's eyes pierced through the violent destructive energy, staring straight at the Yama King in the air, unexcelled in the world. 9 again. He wants to kill the Yama King in 9 seconds. Everyone was incomparably shocked when they heard this. Before this, Qin Wentian scared off the people of the Nine Emperors' immortal state by counting to 9. And now, he actually dared to say such arrogant words to the Yama King. Killing the Yama King in 9 seconds. How can this be possible? This saber-sword immortal king is truly, no one believed in Qin Wentian. No matter how strong he was, it was impossible for him to have such capabilities. In the entire city of ancient emperors, no one would dare to say such words unless an immortal emperor from another dimension acted. Stop dreaming. The Yama King was simply enraged by Qin Wentian's arrogance. He wanted nothing more than to kill Qin Wentian right now. Not only for him, everyone from the Sunluo Immortal Empire felt the same way. Too arrogant, they had never seen such an arrogant fellow before. This saber-sword immortal king must have gone mad, arrogant to the point of ignorance. Someone sighed. No matter how strong he was, no one believed that he would be able to kill the Yama King in 9 seconds. This fellow. Su Qinyao was speechless when she heard Qin Wentian's words. This bragging was too exaggerated. How could he do it? Fuck. Jun Mengchen roared in excitement, forgetting to curse. He was too agitated. He understood Qin Wentian very well, he wouldn't speak without thinking and would do what he said. Although he didn't dare to believe it, could it be that his senior brother Qin Wentian had comprehended a terrifying ability that could kill the Yama King in a single strike? When he thought of this, Jun Mengchen felt his blood boiling. 9 seconds, he wanted to witness these 9 seconds well. 9. Just when everyone was filled with disbelief, Qin Wentian started counting again. His actions were the same as before when he threatened the people of the Nine Emperors' immortal state, starting from 9. Royal brother, kill him. The Yama King simply couldn't stand it anymore. He had never seen someone so arrogant before. Crown Prince, kill him. The experts from the Sunluo Immortal Empire all pleaded, wanting the Yama King to start a massacre. There was no need to play with him anymore. Ha ha ha, ha 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 ha. The Yama King laughed again. This time, the commotion he caused was even greater compared to before. The heavens and earth trembled, as though the heavens and earth were about to crumble apart. Terrifying law energy gushed forth from him, engulfing the entire space. This king is truly enraged. The Yama King laughed loudly. The Azura Hell transforming into a gigantic maw of darkness, wanting to devour everything in this space. The Crown Prince finally made his move. The people from the Sunluo Immortal Empire all had expressions of excitement on their faces when they saw this. The Azura Hell, once the banishment energy was unleashed, the saber-sword immortal king would be trapped in true hell. 8. Qin Wentian spoke again. His body moved, stepping out from the Azura Hell, soaring through the air. The heavens and earth rumbled as the entire Azura Hell trembled. However, the Azura Hell at this moment was simply too terrifying. The Yama King roared with laughter as he stretched his palms downwards. Boundless energy gushed forth, shaking the heavens and earth. 7. Qin Wentian continued counting. His eyes pierced through everything, directly staring into the eyes of the Yama King. Boom! At this instant, the Yama King seemed to be in another dimension. Boundless destructive might gushed towards him, the torrential sword Qi river capable of annihilating everything. Scram! The Yama King roared. A demon king appeared and was directly slain. Before him, Qin Wentian's figure appeared. At this moment, Qin Wentian was too dazzling. He stood high up in the air, like a divinity. He was above while the Yama King was below. He peered down at everything, exuding an invincible might. 6. Qin Wentian spoke. The Yama King's expression turned unsightly. Is this your illusory space? It actually has attack power. No wonder you could injure my Yama King with a single glance. But even so, in the illusory space, as long as your attack power surpasses your own, it would be fake. Also, your strength is inferior to mine, how can you win against me? 5. Qin Wentian didn't say anything. He continued speaking. In the outside world, a similar voice echoed out, shaking the heavens and earth. Qin Wentian was still soaring up in the air, radiating a fearsome aura. 4. In the illusory space, boundless law energy radiated from Qin Wentian. He was like a divinity standing in the air, unexcelled in the world. Dual combat? How can this be possible? You can attack both the outside world and the illusory space at the same time. The Yama King's confidence seemed to have wavered. What? The people in the surroundings were all shocked and they heard the Yama King's voice. The saber-sword Immortal King brought him into the illusory space. 3. In the dual combat space, another voice rang out, causing the hearts of everyone to tremble. The 9 seconds were almost up. The saber-sword Immortal King said that he would kill the Yama King within 9 seconds. Chapter 1496. Although everyone felt that Qin Wentian was bragging, when Qin Wentian counted to 3, the hearts of everyone involuntarily tensed. They stared fixedly at the battlefield as they clenched their fists. Even for those from the Sunluo Immortal Empire, they weren't as confident as they imagined. All of their eyes were wide open, as though they were afraid of missing out on any details. What did the Yama King mean earlier? The saber-sword Immortal King is still rushing towards him, yet the Yama King said that he was fighting in an illusory space. Could it be that the saber-sword Immortal King created an illusory space to attack Qin Wentian while attacking him from the outside? Their hearts trembled. The saber-sword Immortal King right now was simply too terrifying. He soared up into the clouds, cleaving apart all obstacles before him. They didn't see that right now, in another illusory space, Qin Wentian was even more terrifying than before. His entire body radiated an unexcelled might, like a true divinity. Scram! The Yama King roared. His palms blasted out in the air, blotting out the sky, wanting to destroy everything. Even if his opponent could unleash real attacks in this illusory space, the strength of his attacks would still be limited by his own strength. This meant that as long as he was strong enough, he would be invincible. The illusory space wouldn't be able to bully him, nor would it be able to destroy him. In just an instant, an illusory space appeared, blocking Qin Wentian. But at this moment, that illusory space was directly destroyed. However, in the next instant, numerous other illusory figures of Qin Wentian appeared in all directions. It was unknown which of them was real and which was fake. 2. Qin Wentian roared. The sound of the 2 illusory spaces rang out at the same time. How can this be? The countenance of the Yama King drastically changed. He naturally tried to break free from this illusory space. Given his powerful will, he should be able to do so. However, even if he managed to break free, the illusory space was still filled with attacks. Such a tyrannical domain must be an extremely powerful illusory domain that his opponent comprehended. This was somewhat similar to his Azura Hell. From a certain perspective, there was no way to break free. Boom! In this space, the heavens and earth trembled as countless figures of Qin Wentian simultaneously launched their attacks. This time around, the saber-sword Immortal King didn't use his saber or sword but his palms instead. A gigantic palm imprint shot out, akin to a divinity's palm imprint. This palm imprint contained towering runic light and each of the runic light contained a fearsome might. There was a towering sword intent akin to a river of swords, a pagoda intent that could suppress everything, a devil might that could annihilate everything. At this instant, the Yama King could sense that the various attribute attacks from Qin Wentian were all erupting forth from the palm imprint. 1. Qin Wentian let out a roar, and a towering divine light drowned everything. All the figures of Qin Wentian launched their attacks at the same time. What was real and what was fake? King Yama was unable to face so many attacks at the same time. He could only activate his strongest defensive power and bury himself in hell to block everything. Boom! The all-annihilating palm imprint slammed down, as though it was unleashed by a true divinity. Boundless light pierced into his opponent's body as the Yama King roared in rage. At this moment, an illusion appeared in his mind. In the outside world, Qin Wentian slashed out with the Dream Devil sword art, wanting to tear everything apart. The Yama King could see that the destructive palm imprint was inscribed with a myriad of innate techniques and techniques. Was there really such a powerful innate technique in the immortal realms? However, the spectators in the outside world couldn't see any of this. They only saw the saber-sword Immortal King soaring up, aiming for the Yama King. Time's up. Killing the Crown Prince? What a fool's dream. An expert from the Sanluo Immortal Empire spoke in disdain. Just based on this strength? As expected, this saber-sword Immortal King was just bragging. 9 seconds have passed. Could it be that he can still kill the Yama King with a single sword strike? Everyone silently shook their heads. It was unknown who would die, let alone 9 seconds. However, what they didn't know was that in another dimension, the Yama King's entire body was trembling. That all-destroying energy was wreaking havoc in the hell around him, sweeping across his body. His body trembled violently as he suddenly let out a blood-curdling scream, causing the hearts of the spectators to tremble violently. The Yama King stared at the gigantic palm imprint as he called out, "God, Puchi." At this moment, Qin Wentian who was soaring up had a sharp sword in his hand. With a simple slash, he directly pierced through the throat of the Yama King. The Yama King groaned in misery. In the air, boundless energy directly bore down, annihilating all life. The 3 words God's hand only managed to utter a single word before the Yama King's body exploded into pieces. He was directly destroyed, his soul disintegrated. Crown Prince. An expert from the Sanluo Immortal Empire exclaimed in shock as his countenance instantly turned pale. How can this be? Everyone stared in disbelief at the scene before them. After that, their hearts started pounding madly. How can this be? How can this be? Was this an illusion? The sound of that single word continued to reverberate in the air before finally dissipating. 9 seconds, a total of 9 seconds. The Yama King was killed. He actually died in the hands of the saber-sword Immortal King. What happened at the very last moment? Was this the same as the attack the saber-sword Immortal King used against the Yama King earlier? What exactly did the King of Hell encounter in the illusory realm? The people here were all Empyrean Immortal Kings. They knew that there were some illusionary arts that could distort reality and illusion. However, no matter how strong the illusionary art was, the true attack would only be the same as the user of the illusionary art. It was impossible for the user to surpass the user's attack. Even if the user's aura was strong enough, the Yama King wouldn't be able to kill the saber-sword Immortal King even if he was dragged into an illusionary realm. But the saber-sword Immortal King wouldn't be able to kill him. But at this moment, the Yama King died. This meant that he didn't manage to block the saber-sword Immortal King's attack. The Yama King was the supreme crown prince of the Sanluo Immortal Empire, one of the peak characters in the City of Ancient Emperors. His combat prowess was unparalleled, but he didn't even have time to unleash his ultimate might before he was killed. The saber-sword Immortal King wasn't bragging. He did it. No matter what happened earlier, no matter how curious they were, at this moment, their gazes were all turned to Qin Wentian who was in the air. The saber-sword Immortal King in their eyes, they all thought that the saber-sword Immortal King didn't know the immensity of the heavens and earth. Killing the Yama King in 9 seconds. This sounded like a joke, like ignorant arrogance. No one believed it, they all felt that the saber-sword Immortal King was ignorant. But at this moment, all their doubts and thoughts were nothing but a joke. They were all destroyed by a single sword strike from the saber-sword Immortal King. Just like what he said, he gave the Yama King a chance to unleash his strongest combat prowess. However, even the Yama king himself didn't believe it. Until the moment of his death, no one knew what he was thinking. Su Qinyao stared dumbfoundedly at the scene before her. Her beautiful eyes were completely filled with shock. A light breeze gusted by, causing her skirt to flutter. Her eyelashes fluttered as she blinked. She drew in a deep breath and stared at the supreme figure in the air. After this battle, the saber-sword Immortal King's name would resound through the entire city of ancient emperors. Even for that nine-tailed fox maiden who had been standing at the peak of the mountain, her beautiful eyes were filled with shock as she stared at Qin Wentian. Maybe I could spare his life. But sadly, he wanted to die so badly. Hence, this seat can only grant his wish. The hearts of everyone twitched. This fellow, if this was heard by the Yama king, would he be angered to death again? This arrogance. But when they thought of how Qin Wentian killed the Yama king within 9 seconds, everyone could only sigh in their hearts. Even if one wanted to be arrogant, one must have the ability to back it up. If they could do it, they would also be as arrogant. Chapter 1497. Let's see his emperor's fate. The eyes of everyone turned to the area behind Qin Wentian. They only saw the emperor's fate behind Qin Wentian growing madly, radiating a resplendent divine light that soared up into the 9 heavens. It was simply too dazzling, surpassing the vast majority of the experts here. What terrifying emperor's fate! Just a single battle, and after this news circulates out, his emperor's fate would only grow even more dazzling, trampling on the Yama king to grow stronger. The hearts of the experts mused. For a true demon-level character, just a single battle was already enough, accumulating emperor's fate. Qin Wentian naturally also sensed the changes in the emperor's fate behind him. His entire person felt different, he could clearly see the surroundings of the city of ancient emperors. The inheritance energy from the Tao elements that cascaded downwards grew even clearer, as though he could touch it with his hands. This was also the effect Qin Wentian wanted. It was too troublesome to accumulate emperor's fate through battle after battle. Back then, the Yama king was extremely arrogant before him, wanting him to kneel and apologize or he would kill him. Hence, the first thing he did after he returned was to return the emperor's fate to the Yama king, using a single battle to increase his prestige. Even if he didn't need to battle in the future, his emperor's fate would already be enough to be ranked among the strongest in the city of ancient emperors. Because, as long as his reputation was high, his emperor's fate would continue to grow stronger. Let's go. At this moment, after they calmed down, the experts from the Sanluo Immortal Empire prepared to flee. They transmitted their voices to each other before retreating, intending to leave this place. What? You want to flee? Weren't you very arrogant earlier? Jun Mengchen wasn't far away and had been paying attention to these people from the Sanluo Immortal Empire. Upon seeing them wanting to flee, he immediately spoke, causing the experts from the Sanluo Immortal Empire to freeze. Could it be that you want to restrict our movements? An expert from the Sanluo Immortal Empire coldly stared at Jun Mengchen. Senior brother, you have already killed the crown prince of the Sanluo Immortal Empire. This grudge is already a death grudge, the Sanluo Immortal Empire will definitely think of ways to eliminate you. In the future, you better not reveal your identity no matter what. Also, since you have already offended these people, you might as well get rid of them. Leaving them alive would only be a calamity. Jun Mengchen transmitted his voice to Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian naturally understood this logic. What sort of character was the Yama Crown Prince? He was only at the Immortal King realm, but he was already appointed as the Crown Prince, towering above all the other princes. Killing the Yama Crown Prince, the severity of the matter exceeded killing Zidi's son, Zi Daolong. This was already a blood feud. In that case, he naturally had to be more ruthless. Mengchen, you stay out of this and don't interfere. Leave it to me. Qin Wentian transmitted his voice to Jun Mengchen. He had already formed so many enemies when he transformed into the saber-sword Immortal King. He naturally couldn't implicate Jun Mengchen in this. Jun Mengchen understood Qin Wentian's meaning. He nodded silently and stared at the experts from the Senluo Immortal Empire as he coldly laughed, "I don't have enough strength to restrict your movements. If not, you wouldn't even know how you died. This matter has nothing to do with me." After speaking, he retreated, appearing extremely carefree. Everyone had strange looks on their faces. Who here didn't have any schemes? They naturally understood that Jun Mengchen didn't want to create trouble. It was fine to leave this matter to the saber-sword Immortal King. There was no need for him to be implicated. After all, he didn't have the blood of experts from the Senluo Immortal Empire on his hands. "Did this seat allow you all to leave?" Qin Wentian arrogantly stared at the experts from the Senluo Immortal Empire. "Saber-sword Immortal King, don't go too far." An expert coldly spoke, his expression extremely unsightly. This saber-sword Immortal King could kill the Yama Crown Prince. This meant that he had the ability to annihilate all of them. Go too far. Qin Wentian laughed when he heard this. Seems like you guys have forgotten everything that happened before. After speaking, he shook his head. He and the Yama Crown Prince were total strangers. Because of Su Qinyao, the Yama Crown Prince wanted him to kneel and beg for mercy. If he was defeated today, who would be the one to die? If he was defeated, the experts from the Senluo Immortal Empire wouldn't even spare Jun Mengchen. Qin Wentian mockingly stared at the experts from the Senluo Immortal Empire. He took a step forward as a rumbling sound rang out, causing the entire space to tremble. Since this is the case, this seat will go too far today. As the sound of his voice faded, his eyes turned to one of the experts. In just an instant, that person fell into a dreamscape as a torrential sword river slashed over. With a piercing sound, that person died. You. The experts from the Senluo Immortal Empire all trembled as they released their auras. Saber-sword Immortal King, if it wasn't for the despicable methods you used earlier, how would you be able to defeat my elder brother? Yen Luo Tian roared. Before this, he wanted to say this, but in order to preserve his life, he chose to endure it. But now, since this saber-sword Immortal King wanted to kill them, there was no need for him to endure it any longer. This seat's methods are all despicable. It's only natural for you guys to win. Qin Wentian glanced at Yen Luo Tian. At this moment, Yen Luo Tian could clearly sense the scenes he experienced earlier. He had fallen into a dreamscape. All of you, enter for this seat. Qin Wentian swept his gaze over. In just an instant, all the experts from the Senluo Immortal Empire were sucked into a dreamscape. Qin Wentian stood there arrogantly, like a heavenly deity, floating in the air above them. What ability is this exactly? Someone roared in rage. This seat tempered the mortal world, roaming the world for 30 years, seeing all the sceneries in the world and comprehending the power of the myriad of things in the world. Turning illusions into reality, I created this dreamscape. This is my world. Qin Wentian calmly spoke, not afraid that others would know. So what if they knew? Who could break it? Using dreams as illusions. Dreamscape. The hearts of everyone trembled. This saber-sword Immortal King actually comprehended such a unique ability. In the next instant, countless figures of Qin Wentian appeared in the vast space, all of them resembling divinities. When the light radiated from them, it was like the resonance of the 10,000 laws, boundless might. Since you all yearn for hell, this seat shall send you all on your way there. Qin Wentian waved his hands, unleashing the might of the 10,000 laws. All sorts of tyrannical attacks rained down on this space. Which attack was real and which attack was fake? All of them had to defend, but they only saw numerous figures falling one after another. In the external world, countless experts stared at the experts from the Senluo Immortal Empire who were standing in different locations. All of them screamed in agony as they fell to the ground. In just a few short seconds, all of them died. In fact, the first expert who died didn't even have time to land on the ground before the others were all killed. So this is the Saber-Sword Immortal King. He's too powerful. Even the Yama King was killed within 9 seconds. The other experts from the Sunluo Immortal Empire couldn't even withstand a single strike. At this moment, everyone here truly felt how terrifying Qin Wentian was. Su Qingyao's shock was the most intense. This was because her interaction with Qin Wentian could be considered the deepest. Back then, she had personally witnessed the entire battle between Qin Wentian and had seen him fight several times. Although he was incomparably powerful before and his attacks were incomparably violent, right now, his attacks were extremely simple and quiet. In fact, there wasn't even a tempest in the air, but it was still enough to cause the hearts of people to tremble. Given his current strength, no matter how many immortal kings stood before him, they would all be killed by him. Group battles were basically useless against him. The Sunluo Immortal Empire is in for it. Many people mused. The immortal kings who appeared here were all extremely outstanding immortal kings. This time around, all of them were killed by the Saber-Sword Immortal King. This was simply too tragic. In the past, how arrogant was the Yama King? He had nothing in his eyes, not placing anyone in his eyes. However, no matter how powerful a character is, there would always be a time when he failed. This time around, his arrogance not only caused his death, it even affected the fate of the Sunluo Immortal Empire. This batch of immortal kings who died this time around, although they weren't the strongest experts in the Sunluo Immortal Empire, they were still the core strength of the empire. They were the future pillars of the empire. Now that so many of them were killed, there was no doubt that this would affect the future of the Sunluo Immortal Empire. And the reason for all of this was because of the tyranny of the Yama King 30 years ago. As expected, the river flows east for 30 years, the river flows west for 30 years. Although the experiences of the Saber-Sword Immortal King were simple, it was enough to become a legend in the city of ancient emperors. Is there anyone else who wants to spar with this seat? Qin Wentian stared at the experts in the surroundings as he calmly spoke. How would anyone dare to reply? Even the Yama King died in his hands. Right now, most probably only those characters at the peak would dare to fight against him. Since there's no one else, this seat will bid farewell. Qin Wentian calmly spoke. After that, his silhouette flashed as he departed alone. Brother Saber-Sword, take care. Jun Mengchen called out as he chased after Qin Wentian. Little Rascal blinked, but after that, he heard Qin Wentian transmitting his voice to him, just wait there. Little Rascal's strength was already so powerful, and there was also the nine-tailed demon fox beside him. There was no need for him to worry about Little Rascal's safety. There was no need for him to follow him, or he might attract suspicion. Nam Huang Yunshi stared at the departing figure. Su Qingyao also stared at Qin Wentian, who was gradually disappearing. Both of them were speechless for a long time as many emotions filled their hearts. The Saber-Sword Immortal King. Everyone mumbled as they dispersed. Very swiftly, the news of the Saber-Sword Immortal King killing the Yama King in 9 seconds shook the entire city of ancient emperors. Countless experts were shocked. Just this battle record alone made everyone remember a name, the Saber-Sword Immortal King. For those who mocked the Saber-Sword Immortal King earlier when they heard the Saber-Sword Immortal King calling him the Yama King, all of them regretted not going to spectate the battle back then. They felt that they had missed out on something. Many immortal kings in the immortal realms were discussing. Which power did this Saber-Sword Immortal King belong to? Where did he come from? Why haven't they heard of his name before? Such a character shouldn't be nameless. Several months later, on the peak of an ancient mountain, a figure quietly sat there. Majestic amounts of Emperor's fate behind him soared up into the 9 heavens, terrifying to the extreme. He actually connected with the Tao element's inheritance that cascaded downwards, as though he could directly sense the power of the inheritance. This figure was none other than Qin Wentian. As time flowed by, the emperor's fate behind him grew stronger and stronger. There was no longer a need for him to fight and plunder emperor's fate. As expected of a Tao element from the upper world, truly extraordinary. Mengchen, the Tao element you comprehended is the Tao element of the world? Qin Wentian asked. Not far away from him, there was a figure sitting there. This person was none other than Jun Mengchen. Yes, senior brother, there shouldn't be too many people who can inherit this Tao element, right? Jun Mengchen nodded. Qin Wentian's eyes gleamed with sharpness. The Tao element will only acknowledge a single person. If you want to inherit it, you will be bound by the restrictions of the city of ancient emperors. You have to defeat all enemies in the world before you can verify your Tao. Mengchen, you have to walk your path well. Chapter 1498. Jun Mengchen's eyes gleamed with sharpness. If he wanted to seize a Tao element, he had to defeat everyone in the world. At the very least, he had to become the sole inheritor of this Tao element. Don't worry, senior brother, I won't have many enemies. Jun Mengchen didn't mind it too much as he calmly spoke. Don't be too careless. I can clearly sense the power of the Tao elements through my emperor's fate. The power of each Tao element is all-encompassing and your physique is suitable for this world-type Tao element. Maybe the cultivation of others might be different from you, but they are also suitable for comprehending this Tao element. In addition, everyone here are immortal kings. There are also immortal emperors in the city of ancient emperors. They should be experiencing this as well. Qin Wentian reminded. Right. Jun Mengchen smiled and nodded. Senior brother, what about you? You have such a powerful emperor's fate and your comprehension abilities are high. Why don't you choose a Tao element? Or should I say, you want to comprehend many Tao elements at the same time? The powers of Tao elements repel each other. You can only choose one. Qin Wentian calmly spoke. This was what he comprehended during these few days. Jun Mengchen's eyes flashed, feeling somewhat taken aback. In that case, senior brother, what would you choose? Jun Mengchen asked again. I won't accept the Tao element's inheritance first or I will be bound by it. I will temporarily comprehend it and not use it to cultivate. In that case, I won't be bound by it and can make other plans later. Qin Wentian slowly spoke. He borrowed the emperor's fate and could sense the light from the Tao elements even more clearly. Among them, there were Buddhist-type Tao elements, spatial Tao elements, reincarnation Tao elements, world Tao elements. Each of these Tao elements were all-encompassing and extremely terrifying. Once you borrowed the power of a Tao element to cultivate, you would be bound by it. You have to struggle and fight, defeating all enemies in the world before you could verify your Tao. If it was tens of years ago, no one would have thought that the city of ancient emperors would be so terrifying. Right now, it has already been many years since the city of ancient emperors transformed. Everyone in the immortal realms believed a single fact. Back then when the Tiandao Sacred Academy appeared, it meant that this was the era of ancient emperors. In this city of ancient emperors, there would definitely be ancient emperors. It was only a matter of time. Thus, everyone felt that time was of the essence. They had to prove their Tao as soon as possible so that they could have a chance to stop the others. Yes, senior brother is extremely talented. You will definitely be able to walk a path that no one has ever walked before. Jun Mengchen believed in Qin Wentian as always. Mengchen, right now many people in the city of ancient emperors are paying attention to me. You shouldn't be too involved with me. You should change a location to cultivate. Qin Wentian and Jun Mengchen nodded. After that, they stood up and departed. Senior brother, we all want to stand at the peak of the immortal realms. As he spoke, his figure flashed and he tore through the sky and left. Qin Wentian continued to cultivate with his eyes closed, observing the orthodoxy in silence. He paid no attention to the outside world, nor did he care about grudges. However, the tree may long for peace, but the wind won't cease. Qin Wentian no longer stirred up trouble. But because of the battle back then, his emperor's fate was too strong. There were naturally many Empyreans who wanted to imitate him. Right now, everyone in the city of ancient emperors knew that the saber-sword Immortal King's fame had soared, obtaining a supreme amount of emperor's fate. As long as one defeated the saber-sword Immortal King, they might be able to replace him. Today, a supreme peak stage Immortal King stood before Qin Wentian, radiating an intense battle intent. Thunder and lightning circulated around him, causing the sky to change color as the wind and clouds changed color. He stood before Qin Wentian, radiating an intense battle intent. "You are the saber-sword Immortal King." This expert stared at Qin Wentian, his voice rumbling like thunder. Scram! Qin Wentian closed his eyes as he spoke. "You are truly as arrogant as the rumors say. Saber-sword Immortal King, this seat comes from the Thunder God Hall. I would like to experience your strength." That expert spoke, his voice shaking the heavens and earth. Numerous bolts of lightning slammed down from all directions, causing the earth to crumble. Bzz. A mysterious aura suddenly bore down on him. In just an instant, the Immortal King of the Thunder God Hall frowned. He discovered that right now, he was in an independent space, not belonging to the external world. As expected, this is an illusion. His eyes flashed as lightning rumbled, sweeping over everything. But at this moment, he only saw a torrential sword river gushing forth, engulfing everything. With a roar of rage, the 9 layers of lightning transformed into terrifying lightning dragons that danced in the air, rushing towards the sword river. The sky changed color as the sun and moon lost their radiance. Pucci. Beams of resplendent sword intent slashed through everything. In the next instant, his head was directly severed. In the external world, far away from the ancient mountain where Qin Wentian was cultivating, there were many experts watching this battle with their immortal senses. When they saw this scene, their hearts trembled violently, extremely shocked. This was simply too powerful. Was this the saber-sword Immortal King? They only saw the 9 layers of lightning roaring, but Qin Wentian didn't move at all. In fact, he didn't even open his eyes, he just quietly sat there. A peak stage Immortal King's head was actually severed. This scene was simply too shocking. The saber-sword Immortal King mustn't be antagonized. Many people silently mused. After that, they retracted their immortal senses and departed, no longer daring to target Qin Wentian. If they wanted to use Qin Wentian to rise to fame, they had to be prepared to die. The saber-sword Immortal King wouldn't give them a chance to retreat unscathed. What sort of character was the saber-sword Immortal King? He even dared to kill the supreme crown prince of the Sunluo Immortal Empire. Was there anyone he didn't dare to kill? If he spared those who challenged him, there would only be more and more people challenging him. This saber-sword Immortal King clearly wanted to intimidate everyone. If they wanted to challenge him, they had to be prepared to be killed. And as expected, this battle shocked many experts, allowing Qin Wentian to quietly comprehend and cultivate. At this moment, many changes occurred in the city of ancient emperors. More and more ruins appeared, all of them belonged to immortal emperors. In fact, there were even ruins of ancient emperors appearing, causing a huge commotion. This caused many people to sigh. As expected of the city of ancient emperors. In this city, there were many ruins that were hidden in the darkness. Now that the great era has arrived, the Tao elements descended upon the city of ancient emperors, causing many ancient ruins to be excavated. However, all of this didn't seem to affect Qin Wentian. He was like a transcendent being, ignoring the happenings in the city of ancient emperors and cultivating alone. Today, there was finally someone who couldn't endure it any longer and came to provoke Qin Wentian. This person was a peak stage demon king, a character from the royal clan of the Desolate Mountains. His ending was the same as the expert from the Thunder God Hall earlier. He was directly slain by Qin Wentian, showing no mercy. Time flowed by, the experts in the city of ancient emperors contended against each other. However, gradually, those characters who stood at the peak all became transcendent beings. If they didn't contend against each other, no one would be able to replace their position. These existences gradually became the symbol of the city of ancient emperors. Among them, the saber-sword Immortal King was one of them. They gradually stopped participating in the disputes in the city of ancient emperors and focused on cultivating, comprehending the Tao elements instead. It has been 20 years since the saber-sword Immortal King killed the Yama King. During these 20 years, many extraordinary characters appeared in the city of ancient emperors, but there was still no one who could challenge the positions of those characters who stood at the peak. However, although they couldn't challenge those characters, one couldn't deny that many extraordinary characters appeared during these 20 years. The number of people breaking through increased as many mid-stage immortal kings broke through to the peak stage. Similarly, there were also many initial stage immortal kings who broke through to the mid-stage. During these 10 years, another batch of outstanding characters appeared. An example was Jun Mengchen, who obtained the Tao element. His strength was extraordinary and his combat prowess was unparalleled. It was like he was only a step away from stepping into the peak stage of the Immortal King realm, becoming a peak existence. There was also Hua Taishu, who also comprehended the Tao element. In addition, he seemed to have undergone a transformation, his comprehension was extremely deep and his cultivation base had also reached the peak stage of the mid-stage. He became famous because not long ago, he killed a group of demonic beasts. These demonic beasts originated from the Desolate Mountain Range and were none other than the royal race of the Desolate Mountain Range, the Sun Gold Demon race. Hua Taishu, with a cultivation base at the mid-stage of the Immortal King realm, slaughtered over 10 greater demons of the Sun Gold Demon race in a single battle. Among them, there were even peak-stage Immortal Kings. This battle caused his name to resound through the city of ancient emperors, his emperor's fate was incomparably majestic. Right now, Hua Taishu was being hunted down by that peak-stage character from the Sun Gold Demon race. It was rumored that the cause of this matter was a female, a beautiful immortal king from the immortal realms. She died in the hands of a greater demon from the Sun Gold Demon race. Other than this, a heaven-devouring beast appeared in the city of ancient emperors. He was extremely strange and lecherous. He loved to disguise himself as a cute little demon and hide in the embrace of the nine-tailed demon fox. Also, whenever he saw a beautiful woman, he would try to befriend her, causing many greater demons to be unhappy and wanted to kill him. However, his strength was already extraordinary, the greater demons at the peak stage of the Demon King realm couldn't even withstand a single strike and were devoured by him. During these 10 years, more Tao elements appeared in the city of ancient emperors, allowing the people in the city of ancient emperors to comprehend them. At this moment, in a certain location in the city of ancient emperors, there was a group of beautiful immortal kings. They were all surrounding a single person, as though they were protecting her. That person sat cross-legged, exuding an incomparably holy aura, like a goddess sitting there. From the sky, the light from the Tao element cascaded downwards, entering her body, causing her beauty to be even more holy. There were many immortal kings in the surroundings. Some had looks of admiration on their faces, some had evil gleams in their eyes, and there were even some who had killing intent. They were all people who obtained the same Tao element and wanted to eliminate this woman. This Tao element was none other than a spatial Tao element. Who is she exactly? Someone asked. Obtaining a Tao element at the mid-stage of the Immortal King realm, there aren't many people like this. She definitely wouldn't be nameless. She's the princess of the Evergreen Kingdom, Evergreen Qing, She's the most doted-on daughter of Chongqing the Great, an innate immortal king with a spatial physique. It's rumored that she's extremely sensitive to spatial energy, hence she obtained a spatial Tao element. Such a background, such beauty, such talent. Seems like she's going to attract the attention of many geniuses in the immortal realms. Someone sighed. Evergreen Qing already has a fiancé. Back then, This matter caused a huge commotion in the eastern regions of the Immortal realms. Who? Qin Wentian of the Immortal Qianbian Gate, the inheritor of ancient Emperor Yi. Why haven't I heard of this person before? He seems to be nameless in the city of ancient emperors. Someone spoke in bewilderment. I'm also puzzled. Given Qin Wentian's reputation and personality back then, he should be in the city of ancient emperors. Yet, he didn't appear at all. It's like he has vanished completely. This is a little strange. One must know that back then, he was someone who ascended to the peak of the Demon God Mountain. Old Devil Duo Tian and the Dongxing Heaven Emperor wanted to kill him, but he was rescued by the Southern Phoenix Matriarch. Oh yeah, he didn't come because he's worried about revenge. He has offended too many people and the immortal kings of the major powers are all here. If they see Qin Wentian, they would definitely kill him. Many people discussed, their gazes were still fixed on the silhouette of that woman. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.